What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Technical Fowl Podcast. As always, you're joined by the three of us. I'm Jack Anderson. To my right is JP Pusilowski, who's back from Atlanta, where he was boots on the ground at the Georgia Tech game. And then to my left is Sanders Oakley, who was boots on the ground at the more exciting game this weekend, which was Mississippi State, Alcorn State. That was fire. How are y'all's weekends? JP, don't go too into detail on your, Georgia Tech Clemson stuff because we'll talk about that in that breakdown itself. But, how was it just generally?
I would take that weekend 100 times out of 100, 10 times out of 10, 1 time out of 1, whatever the number. I would take that weekend.
Sure.
Every single time. It was awesome. It was for one, it was awesome to be with friends and family for the entire weekend. Just given everything that's going on in the world, I have a ton of stuff going on back at home, and just family-wise, and it was really, really sweet to be there with family. And then just an excellent weekend in general. I went to Six Flags.
Nice. Are you a roller coaster guy?
Yeah, I like roller coasters.
I'm a huge roller coaster guy. I had no idea.
I mean, I'm one of those guys that, like, while we're waiting in line, like once we're like about 10 minutes from getting on the roller coaster, like my face goes white. You can just like tell and I feel like super, super nervous. But once I'm on the ride, like the thrill of it is just awesome.
It takes over.
Yeah,
Sure.
I don't. Are you a roller coaster guy?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Huge.
I don't like. It's the adrenaline and it's the anticipation. It's that exact feeling of like the goosebumps of like you.
It makes it better.
You know what's about to
Yeah.
happen. You're about to feel like your stomach's about to be like woo 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 all over, and that's like half the excitement. And then you get on there. It's so much fun.
And it was fun. Or I went with my friends. It was Georgia Tech's like student night, so it was only Georgia Tech students.
So that's fire.
Which I will say, Georgia Tech's student body is one of the most like distinguishable student bodies in the world. You can just tell everybody's a nerd. It's hilarious.
Sure.
But waiting in line with them was fun because like the whole time you're just like joking about stupid stuff. Like we'll have like just trying to like spook the other guy. Like one of the coasters will come through, and we'll be like, wait, why is that seat empty?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then like there was one ride there where you're on a pendulum, and it's a circle of seats around it, and those seats can like turn, and then the pendulum swings, and the pendulum will literally go like it goes above 90 degrees. It's almost at like 135 degrees.
Sure.
And that was a ride I had never been on at Six Flags. That ride was
Interesting.
insane.
Do you have a preferred, so like just traditional roller coasters, right? Just the rails. Do you prefer feet on the ground sitting, dangling? What's your preferred?
I prefer feet dangling.
I think
with
I agree.
the overhead.
Yeah, with the
I completely agree. I don't really think that's a hot take either. I feel like that's just the better way to experience it.
Yes.
That's
what Batman is there.
Yeah, that's
my
the
favorite
that's what
ride.
I've heard about. The other question: have you seen the guy who like on TikTok will like buckle someone in and then go and be like, "Oh wait, you're not buckled in right," and then click the drop, and so the person just like literally thinks they're about to die.
Yeah.
That's evil.
I think
Stuff like that's the other stuff you're joking about while you're in line. It was hilarious. But then the game was awesome, and the whole environment leading up to the game, which we'll get into that when we get there. That was an excellent weekend. I'd take that weekend every single time.
Yeah, sure.
Outside of this Sunday, I would not take today.
It was a rough Sunday for.
Long drive, sadly.
Yeah.
I did see you got a quick trip stop in, though. So
Huge.
congrats to that.
2 quick trip stops, actually.
Matt
Fire.
Double dipped.
Yeah,
crazy.
my weekend we had Engelball. You missed absolutely nothing at Engelball on Saturday.
My team fried. I don't know what you're talking about.
It was I think we lost by 10 or 12. It was one of the worst games I've ever seen. It was just tough all around. Our team just didn't play well, and then
Unfair teams or just
I don't even think it
execution?
was execution.
Splits weren't
bad.
great. The game shouldn't have been that bad, though.
Yeah, the execution was really bad. Defense was just non-existent on our team,
We
and that
cooked.
was on all of our parts. It was just like not stepping out for mirrors, not filling holes in the tag. So like I'm the pole player, I fill a hole, and then I turn around and just they made a pass to an empty hole across the circle. I'm like, why is nobody there?
Sure.
It was fun for us. We had a
Yeah,
great time.
I'm sure y'all had a great time.
I was
Harris
in,
went on a stretch. I think he scored 6 points in a row for y'all or something
Yeah,
like that.
probably, and like 8 possessions.
That's
And
crazy.
I'm
he was
t-
just so open every time. It was the easiest
I
passes
wish you
ever.
had been there because I remember you saying a couple weeks ago that you didn't think he'd gotten better. He just gotten taller, and maybe a little bit faster. But like his like skill hadn't necessarily improved. He was just more athletic.
Yeah.
I think he played like offensively. He was finding holes very well. We were leaving plenty of them, and then he was hitting his shots. So
It's all a confidence game for him, and he
It
got
is fair.
It's
confident
fair.
in it, and it just
he's-
snowballed from
he might
there.
be watching right now.
So-
Also, what's up,
Which that's,
Tucker?
that's props to you, Harris.
Yeah,
'cause
no,
you, were
you played
electric
fantastic.
yesterday.
Played fantastic.
I was in a number 12 jersey as well because Mark Breland brought extra pennies, and so I was repping the 12th man on the Angleball field.
That's sick.
And that I like to believe that snowballed into a big win on the football field last night.
Yeah, this might be possible. Yeah.
So I'm gonna believe that. Real
Yeah.
quick, Sanders. Besides that,
Oh,
state game, how was it?
Fantastic weekend. Still sore. We'll get into it more when we talk about. But
Sure.
my job involves running the camera on the field and getting close. And the more touchdowns we have, the more excitement there is, the more stuff I have to shoot, which means the more running I have to do. So finished the day once again very sore, very sweaty, very hot. Camera kept overheating because it was a 5 o'clock kickoff, and so I was out there at like 3:30,
Sure.
4 o'clock, like doing all the warm up shoots and stuff like that. My camera was overheating in the sun, but other than that, it was really good. But we'll get into that game later, and then tailgating, awesome. Got to watch the A&M game with you. We'll get into that later. We've got some
Good
video
stuff.
footage to reveal for the viewers. Great time. So
But when the camera overheats, like
I take it back in the air conditioning for 2-3 minutes.
Okay,
yeah, that's all
gotcha.
you can do.
Yeah,
Makes
it's
sense.
very frustrating. Yeah, but there's not really another way around it, and it's also like the camera I have is not technically like a true TV camera. It's real. So like most of the cameras you're gonna see are like the shoulder ones, and you zoom in and out, and it's got the antenna sticking at the back. The camera I have is actually just like a traditional like Sony camera, but it's on a gimbal, so like it balances, and then there's a camera. All of the television broadcast equipment is attached to the gimbal, so it makes for really clear shots. It's only really good for like close up stuff because I can't zoom like a traditional camera.
sure.
And then it's also very balanced and like level, which is why it's so great to like get in close really fast. Super fun, but it also is just not like built to be on for 5 hours straight.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's really fun. I love it. It's some really cool equipment. It make me look I'm really good at my job. I remember like when I first started working basketball, like, and I was like doing it for the first time. Everyone's like, "Dude, your stuff looks so good." I'm like, I literally
It's not
just
me.
kind of
Yeah.
just run to what looks fun and then
Fair.
point the camera at them, and then it's all the camera. Like
Sure.
I don't do anything other than run.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, let's get into the meat of the show.
Let's.
Top 25 reveals for the three of us. State game breakdown, which I don't think there'll be much of a breakdown, but we'll still talk about it. And then we'll recap some of the bigger games from the weekend, and then hit up the Technical Fowl Stock Market, and then get on out of here. So let's roll into these top 25. Who wants to go first?
we can go alphabetical. That's how I have them set up.
Let's do it. I can reveal mine first.
Yeah,
then,
I'll
I
just
guess.
start off with, as always, vote T25sports.com.
Yes, of course.
Share your ballots. We share ours. We have friends and family that share theirs, and it all goes into like one mega top 25. And it's pretty fun to see how other people vote and then to see what the consensus looks like. So with that being said, Jack, we can start with yours.
Sure. And yeah. Is
Yes,
there any way to get it up over there
yes,
too?
I will pull it up right here.
So my top 25 is on the screen. Biggest moves for me is Clemson drops completely out after 3 weeks where I feel like they didn't look great. I just decided to bite the bullet and drop them out completely. South Carolina loses a big game to Vandy. They drop from in the 15-16 range to completely out. Pray for Norris Sellers. I hope he's diagnosed with a concussion, so we don't even know if he's going to play next week either. I would expect not, but you just never really know. Big risers. Vandy jumps in. I believe they're at 20. 21, right in that range. So shout out to them. They got a huge win. NC State jumps in. They've been looking very good. Hollywood Smothers at running back has been fantastic for them, as well as their quarterback. C.J. Bailey has looked great as well. He is in a buy or sell on Technical Fowl Stock Market later, so we'll get to him later. But yeah, A&M jumps into the top 10. Huge win for them. Possibly a bit more of a contentious thing for me. I've Notre Dame ranked 15. Maybe a little high. They're 0-2. I get that. But they've lost 2 close games to what I think are 2 good teams. And watching them last night, I think they took a big step on the offensive line from week 1. That looked better. The offense looked really good. They have some questions defensively, but that run game, Price and Love are fantastic. I've loved what I've seen from C.J. Carr. I still think they're a top 25 team. Questions, concerns, comments, disagreements, agreements?
I mean, I do not have Notre Dame ranked.
Sure.
And that's like a challenging. Hold on, I'll figure out that later. We got 3 TVs now, and one of them is doing something goofy, but I'll fix it in a minute. I don't have Notre Dame ranked. It is a tough team to deal with because they have 2 losses by combined 4 points to 2 now top 10 teams, right? I mean, Miami and A&M are both top 10 according to the AP, and so you can say, oh, this could be. I mean, they could have played the 6th and 3rd best team in the country. They might be the 8th best team in the country, but they just haven't won, and so it's really hard to defend ranking them right now. That's kind of my biggest qualm. I don't know. I know that you have Vanderbilt at 21. You weren't as high in South Carolina. I don't remember. You had them ranked at 15 last week. I thought Vanderbilt looked incredible.
Sure.
I do know that they didn't have Lenore Sellers. South Carolina did not, which hurt them. But I'll also say that Lenore Sellers wasn't playing defense, and Vanderbilt dropped 31 in Williams-Brice Stadium.
Yeah.
So I thought Vanderbilt looked really good.
Which my counter to that is South Carolina turned the ball over 4 times and didn't get it on 4th down twice.
I think we'll save that argument for Sanders' top 25.
Yeah,
Okay.
We can talk about that later.
Cool.
Notre Dame is the first 0-2 team to be ranked since 1988. I also don't have them ranked. I think it's. I agree with you though. They lose at the end of 2 games just barely.
It just depends on like what your logic is for your rankings, because
They're not any further than 30 for me, and they very well will jump back up into the rankings at some point. But I do think like merit based, they don't deserve to be ranked.
fair.
Because they are 0-2. Like I think you're welcome for some people to rank them maybe around like 25. I see like 15 for me. That more feels like I think eventually they'll get up to 15 and they're eventually the 15th best team in the nation. And they might be that right now. But I just don't think that they've earned 15th best in the nation. 15th in a power ranking, I'm all for. But I don't see 15 if your rankings are merit-based, which with that ranking, it looks more power-rated based.
Yeah.
I try and thread the needle of doing a bit of both, which makes it tough. Basically, I ended up almost flipping A&M and Notre Dame from where I had them. Notre Dame drops. They were at 8. They dropped 7 spots. A&M was a little higher. I think they were like 13th
12.
last week. 12, yeah. And they move up a little bit. But, yeah, I agree. That's pretty contentious. Yeah, it's a little hot.
You gotta push the A&M beat a really good team agenda.
Sure. Which
I'm fine
I
with that.
believe A&M beat a good team.
No,
I think we all do.
I think
I
we all
hope
think
so.
that.
No, I mean, you can dog on the win, whatever.
And then Tucker makes the point that Notre Dame has looked more impressive in their losses than teams like Texas or Penn State. But that still comes down to, like, Texas and Penn State are winning.
They've got the job done.
Yeah, they've won those games against lesser opponents.
Well, Texas has a loss and didn't look very impressive in their loss.
Yeah.
But on to JP's.
JP.
Cool. I made it through the firing squad without too much rebuttal, too much backlash. So
yeah,
I'll
given
take
how
that.
JP was reacting to my ballot in our group
yours
chat, I'm
doesn't
nervous.
deserve the backlash.
I'm
I
nervous
appreciate
for
it.
mine.
for what's coming.
I think that's the goal each week is just not have the worst ballot, and you survive. So
I would agree. That is what AP voters should be going for now at this point, given how the last week went with the AP.
I haven't, and I mean, was I talking to you about this yesterday? I think I was. And it's a slight tangent, but we're doing our ballots, the AP ballots. I think AP voters are catching too much crap right now because they have a very tough job.
Well, then they shouldn't be in that role.
But I don't know who you want to be in that role. So these are people who are involved in their programs, right? These are beat writers for their teams, which means that they are around football. But the hard part is finding people who are just going to sit at home. Like,
you could find 60 people. It's 60 people in a world with 8 billion people. It's 60 people in a sport where the most watched game is getting 5 million views a weekend. Like, 60 people can watch all of the games. my biggest problem with it is like, and this was a huge part of Josh Pate's point. This influences the postseason.
I agree.
These rankings influence the postseason.
And college game day. And
It influences college game day, which influences campuses.
TV slots.
And media
Yeah.
deals. This influences so much that if someone won't even take the time of day, they don't even, like last week, they just clearly didn't realize South Florida beat Florida, and we're going to move Florida up 2 spots in a loss.
the bare minimum is like go look at the scores from yesterday and at least make sure you're right there.
I don't think you need to spend 5 hours watching all the teams. I don't.
I don't either.
It's not really
I
possible.
spend
Like
an hour watching
sure.
or researching for my top 25, and then I've watched the games the day before. I think they deserve more flack, and they need to continue to be flacked, because this is for the sport. Like it's again another terrible look where the higher ups just clearly don't have any control of what's going on. If this is the rankings we use when we see the team on TV, that's the number that's next to them, is what comes from this, and you have people that are doing what they're doing, then yes, they deserve all the flack in the world.
That's why you need to let the T25 poll be what shows up on TV. My biggest thing, just real quick about last week, is just the lack of owning up to it, that you make a mistake and be like, oh, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. I agree that, like, not owning up to your mistake is a problem. I was just trying to make the point that as someone, and Tucker points it out, I work every state home game. I literally don't have my phone for 6 hours. From, like, I didn't have it from 4 o'clock until the game ended at, like,
He had no
10.
idea Tennessee missed the
I
extra
didn't
point,
know.
or
I
the
literally
field
walked
goal
out and
at the
texted
end of
Jack, and I was like,
regulation.
what do I need to know? What has happened in the last 6 hours? And then I went home, or I've watched the A&M game, and then today I've been watching highlights as much as possible to catch up on what happened yesterday. But I just want to, like, say that it's a hard job to, if you're a beat writer and you're at a game doing your job, your full-time job that you get paid for.
I understand.
And then to go home and have to have your ballot ready by noon the next day.
I understand that point.
Right.
But that's why they shouldn't be doing it in the first place. Like, it's not on the beat writers. It's on who is being selected to be put in this role.
Right.
Which is what ultimately is what a ton of the problems are on, is just the people up top. It's not on the beat writers. Like, it's on the people that are picking these people to influence the sport that we love. That's where the problem lies.
Yeah.
And the only way, unfortunately, to do what we need to do is to highlight the stupid decisions these
Sure.
AP poll voters are making. But that's I just think they deserve the flack.
Yeah.
On to my top 25.
Let's do that.
I've made a significant change, and I don't know if this is a hot take because I haven't really gotten enough opinion, but one person who's also now in the chat thinks this is a hot take. I have Georgia at the number 1 spot. I think they're the best team in the country through 4 weeks, or I should say through 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Going into week 4, I think they have the best win, honestly. From start to finish, I think they've shown the best win out of any team. I think A&M has the closest argument for it. But I think Georgia has the best win so far out of anyone right now in the country.
I don't disagree.
I completely understand, like, all of the discourse with the offense in the first 2 weeks. They were not good. They were sluggish at best. But when you go out and you do that in Neyland Stadium, none of that matters anymore. That's what everyone should care about. And
Sure.
they were terrific on Saturday, offensively and even defensively in a couple huge spots. So I think Georgia, for me, is the number 1 team in the nation. I don't think, like, over a majority they would get voted that, and that obviously was reflected in the AP poll. But I do think it's a problem that nobody voted them for first place, and Penn State got 5.
Yeah, that's
considering how Penn State has looked through 3 weeks.
Because you talk about looking sluggish. I feel like Penn State has looked. They haven't covered the spread yet in a game. In
Shout
3
out
games.
Villanova.
Yeah, that's a wild backdoor cover by Villanova. But I 100% agree. I don't know how Penn State was getting. As someone who doesn't think that either should have votes, I think that Georgia should have it before Penn State. I still think Ohio State should get it.
Georgia's at least beat a very quality team, and I don't want to go too in depth into it because we are going to talk about it later in the show. That game, I don't obviously have them number one. I don't hate it though, but continue.
Then there's some shuffling with Ohio State, Penn State, Miami, and Oregon, but that's just with Notre Dame's loss and then Georgia's win. I have A&M moving. They were already in the top 10 at 10. Now they're at 6. For me, I would say that's probably the second best win we've seen so far this season from start to finish. I have LSU dropping 3 spots. They were terrible.
It's kind of a stunner.
5 interceptions for DJ Lagway, and the offense scores 13 points. They score 7 points off one of the interceptions because it's a pick 6.
JP, you're spoiled. Okay? They won the game, and that's the
That
first
was
thing you
crazy.
bring up.
And
Are you serious right
Brian
now?
Kelly looked awful in that interview. Another awful Brian Kelly LSU moment to be added to the list. They do have an incredible win, I think, still at Clemson. I think that's an incredible win. It's a statement. It's a classic letdown spot last week against Louisiana Tech. But to have 5 interceptions and to score as many points as they did against Florida. Florida, I think, is talented defensively, but still in your own building. Like, I think that was just a poor showing. I don't think that deserves for them to be inside the top 5 for me. I have Texas dropping 2 spots as well to 9, and then Utah and Georgia Tech elevate because of the losses for Clemson, Notre Dame, and South Carolina, so they are at 10 and 11. Other notable things, I've now ranked Vanderbilt. Alabama is back in the rankings for me. I think with the way they've looked the past 2 weeks that maybe it was just a awful game at Florida State, and this is still a team, and we'll get that answer here in 2 weeks when they play Georgia. But Vanderbilt has earned the right to be inside the rankings, but I do think we'll get to that game, but for now I think the second half is not necessarily a showing of Vanderbilt as much as it is a showing of how much South Carolina needs Lenore Sellers. Auburn I have sneaking into the rankings, and then Texas Tech I have closing it out at 25. One thing to note, though, I do have Tennessee jumping 5 spots on a loss because they were that impressive, and they literally have 2-3 chances to win that game. I think they showed a ton on Saturday and showed that they are not. I don't think they're due for a bad season this year with how impressive they were against that Georgia defense.
I liked what I saw from Aguilar. You had them jumping 5 spots. I didn't drop them at all for the loss.
Yeah.
Which I think is a similar thing. You just kind of took it even a step further. Missouri, I like. You have them ranked?
Yes, I have them 18. I've had them
Cool.
3 weeks ranked now.
Missouri, USC are a couple teams I don't have ranked. Texas Tech's a third, but they're all right on the outside for me. I think they're very quality teams. I like your rankings a lot.
Not move Arizona State back in, but move them up one. Do you know off the top of your head who you dropped? Just USF, you dropped out.
I dropped USF, Clemson, South Carolina, and Notre Dame.
Yeah, that was going to be my first question and I mean, you kind of addressed it, but can we just kind of readdress it? The Tennessee loses to number 1 by 3 at home
In overtime.
and moves up 5. Notre Dame loses by 1 to number 6 at home and drops from 8 to unranked. Is it just like what you're seeing? Because I thought Notre Dame was a wild 4th and 12 touchdown. I mean, it reminded me of the Jalen Milroe Auburn. Was that 4th and 25?
That's another level.
That's not even close, I don't think.
But it is. The odds were not great on that. I think the thing is Notre Dame's 0-2, so it's like they've now had that close. Like you look good, but you lost a close game twice now. So
and I think also like losing in close games is something that bad teams do. Like if you have a ton of talent, you're going to be in games. But to lose 2 games like that in the manner that they did both times, I think is more of a statement on they're actually not that good.
sure.
While they were in close games, it doesn't matter if you don't win the games. So for me, that's why I've dropped them. But they're not far out, and more than likely going to climb back in at some point if they were to pick up wins. Their playoff chances are not necessarily out of the question yet either, with big games against Arkansas and USC still left. So maybe they could sneak in at 10-2 at the end of the year if they were impressive the rest of the year. Because the losses are close enough to make that argument at the end of the year.
Sure.
Yeah, and then the other thing was you said Georgia has the best win. And I guess that's like because it was a road. So like Ohio State has a win over your number 9 team. Georgia's win over your number 15 team. And that's like another thing where it's how they looked. It's not win margin because Ohio State won by more, but that offense did not look great. The defense looked fantastic, but I feel like we're also learning more about Texas now, to where Texas has a lot of issues on offense revolving around Arch and potential injuries and all the rumors.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where that's coming from?
I thought Georgia was unbelievably impressive on Saturday, getting torched by Joey Aguilar, but to respond in the ways that they did and control the game in the ways that they did, to literally take Tennessee's crowd out of the game twice and then a third time winning it, I thought that was unbelievably impressive. That's what top 3 teams, that's what the number 1 team in the nation does when they go on the road, is they take that environment out of the game, and they did that 3 times on Saturday. Gunnar Stockton was ridiculous, and for me, I think they've earned the right to be number 1. I think that win's better than Ohio State's win.
Sure.
Just being the fact that it was on the road in Neyland Stadium, which is a stadium I have a ton of respect for. So,
cool. Shall we get on to the most divisive of
Yeah.
the 3?
Yeah, we'll do my rankings.
We'll let you get all your thoughts out.
I'll walk
before
through it first.
We
I have Ohio State at 1 still. I've got Miami moving up to 2. I thought they've looked really impressive. A win over USF. I think that they've looked great. They beat Notre Dame. That's a good win. So I think that they've got a good resume as far as 2 top 25 wins at the time. I mean, it depends on whether you consider it a top 25 win if the team is no longer ranked.
I consider it when it happened.
Yeah.
That's the
I
way
agree.
Show-ups
But-
on
and
like
then-
ESPN
so what-
schedule.
Real quick, like nomenclature, would you consider it a win if that team wasn't ranked when you beat them and then became ranked later on? How do you value that? How would you refer to that? Because that's another tough one.
Well, I don't think ranked win should really
I
even
agree.
be a part of
I
the
agree.
factor.
I wouldn't call that a ranked win because it's a good win, and I get that the team is now ranked, but like teams change throughout the course of a season. For example, like say you beat a team when they're 15th in the country, and then the next week their QB breaks his leg out for the season, and they free fall until they're no longer ranked, and it's like, okay, well, but that's just not the same. And that's an extreme example. Like that's just not the same team we played. So
I also dropped LSU. They were underwhelming in their win on Saturday. Andrew McBride makes a great point. Only 10 first downs. The fact that they scored 20, was that the final score? Was 20-10, or did they score again?
20-10.
20-10.
They scored 13 offensive points.
Yeah. That was tough. But the team that I've got at 5, Oklahoma. Oklahoma is the team that has like surprised me every week of like, I think I know what they are, and then they impress me again and again, and they have done that every week over the past 3 weeks. That's why I've got them at 5. Florida State at 6. Georgia Tech at 7. Georgia Tech beats Clemson. I believe that is their second P4 win.
Yes.
They looked very impressive against Clemson. They hit that game winner. We'll get into that game a lot more in the future. I've got Vanderbilt at 8. Vanderbilt beat South Carolina in Williams-Brice Stadium. I know they did not have Lenore Sellers. The offense looked very good. Diego Pavia looked very good. And the way that they came into that game, after the first play from scrimmage was a tackle for loss. I didn't get to watch the game live because I had work. I was watching the highlights. First play from scrimmage is a tackle for loss. They get the running back behind the line of scrimmage, and the crowd goes crazy. And I was like, it felt like one of those moments where you realize that the team that's like been talking all the trash, like Vanderbilt has, is going to come in and get blown out of the water. Almost like USF Miami, where it's like this team is going to come in, and the home field advantage is going to be too much, and the home crowd is going to take them out of the game. And it didn't happen. And Vanderbilt just kind of like silenced South Carolina and dropped 31 on them at home. That impressed me a lot. I dropped Oregon a little bit just because A&M, Vanderbilt, and Georgia Tech all won teams over opponents I value higher than any of Georgia's wins. Texas drops a little bit. Struggled against UTEP, I think. Arch Manning's stat line was bad. They won like 27-10, something like that. I'm not off the top of my head. I'm not positive, but it was not a great game by them. Ole Miss moves up. Mississippi State moves up. Indiana, Texas Tech. These are all teams that just beat up on poor opponents. And then California and UNLV both come in, crack my top 25. Tucker, the UNLV ranking is the ranking where I got to the end and wasn't sure who to put. And UNLV is the team I picked to be my G5 team in the playoffs. And so I gave them 25.
That's crazy reasoning.
Diabolical.
That's
Yep.
insane reasoning.
It's,
That's bad.
All right, break it down.
For someone that's put such a big emphasis on resume being what matters, and as soon as the first week kicks off, all the preseason hype and talent and whatnot goes out the window. To have UNLV be ranked is just kind of insane.
Yeah, we're missing out on a ton of great options like Auburn, Tennessee. I can understand arguments for Tulane. You have Washington ranked. It's just Alabama.
Well, if he's all about resume, I guess I get that one not being there. But like Auburn winning one at Baylor,
Yep.
undeniably a better win than anything UNLV has. So
Is it-
that one I may disagree with more than the Vandy one, which I really don't want to get into the Vandy one too much because I think we're going to get into it during the preview. But South Carolina, I talked about it all off season, and even like first couple weeks, is like I think they're Lenore Sellers is what that team is, and he goes down, and the offense can't function, and so you say the Vanderbilt offense looked really good, but South Carolina just kept turning the football over.
Well, they were turning it
on
over
downs.
before Lenore's got hurt. Lenore's had an interception on the second drive of the game.
In the second half, South Carolina went punt, turnover on downs,
Turnover on downs.
fumble. Punt, or is it interception?
Interception.
That was the second half. So, like, congrats is a big win for Vandy. I ranked Vandy. I don't get them being at 8. I don't get them being over someone like A&M, for example. I'm an Aggie, I guess, but I just think that's very, very high.
Over A&M is diabolical. I think for me, putting Vanderbilt at 8 means like you locked into having to put Georgia at 1 because that's the same argument there of super impressive on the road in front of the hostile crowd. Georgia got punched in the mouth to start that game. They're down 21-7. Well, they were down 7-0. They answered. They were down 21-7. They answer. They're down again. They answer. They're on their knees, about to lose the game, and they get a break and they answer and win in overtime. I think that means I feel like you have to put Georgia at number 1. That's Vanderbilt's first SEC opener win since 2011. Not that has anything to do with these rankings, but like this is going to get blown out of the water. And rankings shouldn't be predictive, but like Vanderbilt 8 is going to get blown out of the water. And their resume is not even like it's not better than 17 other teams personally.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, that is true. The head coach of the Virginia Tech game was a blowout on the road, but that head coach just got fired, so that kind of makes that win irrelevant.
Got blown out by
They got blown out by Old Dominion.
Yeah, and then I'll say to Tucker asking about Cal and Andrew McBride asking about Washington, I think that both those teams have something special at the most important position in football, JKS and then Damon Williams. Both have looked really good through the first 3 games, so that's where I've got that's why I have both those teams ranked.
Andrew McBride is a big Georgia hater, is what I'm learning currently.
That is kind of wild.
I mean, I understand. I hate Georgia too, but
Respect where respect's due.
that's not that bad of an argument as Vanderbilt at 8 personally. And Georgia Tech inside the top 10, I can kind of see it, but my problem is you didn't have them ranked last week.
Yeah.
And
Well, they were. I
win-
said last week.
it's a win over your 15th ranked team last week. And you've been critical of Clemson more than I think anyone here.
Sure.
Honestly. And to win that game on a fire drill field goal where Clemson throws away points numerous times throughout the game, then to be 7th in the country with that win and a win over Colorado, who just lost to Houston.
Well,
Let's not dog on
yeah,
Houston.
Houston may be that team.
They've got a future Heisman winner in Connor Weigman. I think But if you remember, I literally said last week, I was like, Georgia Tech is the team.
And I actually think Vanderbilt has a better win than Georgia Tech. Honestly.
I would agree.
Sure.
And so why is Vanderbilt not over Georgia Tech?
Because, yeah,
Nah, I'll give you some reprieve on that one. That's a little bit, splitting hairs, spot to spot. But
Georgia Tech was a team I said last week, if they got the win, I was going to move them up a lot. I made that clear. I was like, they're sitting right there on the outside looking in. I didn't rank them because there were a lot of other teams that I thought I deserved to be ranked ahead of them. But I had said, this is the week where they can prove it to me. And they did that.
sure.
And Haynes, I was very low on Georgia Tech coming into the season. I don't remember if y'all, I was like, I don't get the ACC championship hype. I don't get any of the hype because we talked about how the team kind of felt like they were at a ceiling, and like I felt like they were like the Vanderbilt of the ACC with a quarterback who might not have a high enough ceiling to lead his team to the big wins, and he did that. And then Diego Pavia did that at the same time, which is why I kind of moved both of them up. It's like seeing both of those quarterbacks that I was low on prove me wrong. I was trying to give them the respect I felt like I had been keeping away from them all off season.
I understand that.
Through
You're-
the first 3 weeks.
I will,
first 2
I'll
weeks.
say your Bible PFF did give Diego Pavia like a 50 game
Oh, he probably
grade.
had so many turnover-worthy plays that
So-
turned into touchdowns. Did you see his lateral where it wasn't? He literally just turned and overhand threw the ball.
Yeah.
I think Cole. Well, I don't want to talk about. I want to say this.
I
all
think
the-
we're I think we're pretty done with the rankings.
I don't wanna
Any-
talk
any
too much
last
'cause I wanna
remarks, and
talk
we
about
can
the
move on to
actual
the state
games.
preview.
Oh, well said, Tucker.
Yeah,
And
Tucker, it
will
is-
be a reoccurring theme.
It happens every week. It's all a bit. It's all a bit, guys.
I feel good though because it's not on me. Which I've been kind of tame so far. Last year, and I think even the year prior, I was definitely the one that got a lot of these flames thrown at for my rankings.
very
The
true.
pendulum will swing at some point, I'm sure, to one
I-
of the two of us.
Absolutely. But yeah, that can kind of conclude that. Let's
Sure.
get into the games.
We
And
can start with the biggest game as well.
as always, we start with the best team in the country. Mississippi State defeated Alcorn State 63-0. They did not cover the spread that was given to us prior to the game, as well as the spread on our preview show. They did cover that spread.
yeah, but
I
say they
lied.
covered that spread.
But they did not cover the 1,000,000-point spread. The Alcorn State Braves lose 63-0. The Dogs scored 28 points in the first quarter. Everybody looked impressive. But
should've
I
called the
also
game
will
there.
say that the touchdowns we scored were, it looked like we were playing a high school team, and that's a good thing. I think for the program, but it was just simply corners getting beat over the top. Like that is come on, bro.
Yeah,
like
and
getting beat
especially
by
playing-
5 steps.
on a straight, just like I'm just
Yeah.
gonna run.
and
And
playing
it's
the
not like he
offense-
was tired. It's the first play of the game or the
Second.
second play of the game.
The first one he was also beat. We just missed a throw, so
It's
they were
just-
beat the first 2 plays.
It was really bad.
It's a bad look, but I think for us, it was a great look for us. It shows, I think, extreme improvement in the program. To handle business like that, Alcorn State might go 0-12 with how they looked, but everyone got snaps. Everyone got to play. A bunch of people got touches. Seth Davis gets to return, get a touchdown after his bad leg injury 2 years ago in the Egg Bowl. Fluff Bothwell played well. Blake put himself in spots I didn't like, that he put his body on the line a little bit too much. Camario throws his first ever touchdown. He looks the part. I wish he got to throw it more. But I think it was a good win for State. Stayed relatively healthy for the most part. I haven't heard anything like major injury-wise. But it was a good win for State. I
Yep.
am glad, though, that I wasn't here.
Yeah.
I won't
Hail
lie.
State Sven, welcome in. Yeah, I do want to reiterate the Seth Davis touchdown because I kind of missed it until they posted the video. Seth Davis is like a redshirt sophomore who played well in 2023, hurt himself. I don't know if it was ACL, but hurt himself in the Egg Bowl, missed the entirety of
Yeah, it was
2024.
ACL.
And then comes back and has been working his way back from injury and gets a rushing touchdown, a 23-yard rushing touchdown in the fourth quarter. and got the game ball. And Coach Lebby could not say enough in that video in the locker room and in the press conference about how awesome a teammate Davis has been. So that was really cool to see as a State fan, and loving the team and loving the guys. That was great. I think we kind of achieved all of our goals. I said going in that with the Tennessee game coming up, and you don't want to lose track of weeks 3 and 4, but at the same time, you want to keep fans excited and look good week in, week out. We did that. I mean, we looked so good that we played 10-minute quarters in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
So that was awesome. Showtime, it was so exciting because, like I said, Brennan Thompson is open, first play from scrimmage, miss it. Come right back, Jordan Mosley, touchdown. One of my friends who's like, he works for Creative, he's an intern, like does all the camera stuff. They have to run in and like change lenses and stuff occasionally. And he missed like the first 3 touchdowns because he thought he had time like after punts to like go in, and he'd come out and be like, too late, we scored. And he'd go back in, and then he would go back out and like, get ready to change another lens, and like, too late, we scored. So that was really funny because I was like, it's a good sign if like they just don't have time to change lenses. That was great. It was the first shutout defensively since 2017. That 2017 defense was statistically, I think, the best in the country. I mean, it was awesome. Very good defense. Very fun to watch. And then we had 4 straight touchdowns to start. So when I talk about the offense starting strong, it started very strong. We punted only 1 time. Then we had that bad interception. One of the hits that Shapen took, that was one of the hits that I did not like to see.
Yeah.
So Shapen gets hit, throws the interception.
Lebby didn't like that either in his post-game press conference.
Of the 13 possessions, we scored a touchdown on 9 of them, and then 2 of them were like end of the half / end of the game. So 9 of the 11 possessions where we were trying to score, we scored. Love to see that. Kamario Taylor played very well, graded out great, an 89 overall offensive grade, 83.7 passing grade. That doesn't mean a whole lot because we were playing lesser opponents. What I will say about PFF grade is it tries to grade based on the player performance. So, like, if you make a good throw, Kamar, if you hit a wide open wide receiver against a bad team, that's not a great throw. It's an average throw because he was wide open. And so Kamario Taylor graded out well. Mm-hmm. That doesn't entirely take into account the competition, but a little bit. It's not like a statistical performance. It's how did you perform in this play against, like, was there pressure coming? If there wasn't, then you're not going to get a great grade. If there was, you'll get a good grade. We got the backups in. You talked about it. Defensive players. We had 30 guys take defensive snaps, over 10 snaps.
Yeah.
And then no one played more than 31 snaps defensively.
We had guys that are scheduled to be redshirted that got to play, which I think is great. I think that's been a great thing through both this and the Southern Miss game. It happened in the Southern Miss game where it just keeps everybody engaged. I can speak from back when I played high school basketball, like as a guy who at one point was the 11th guy on the bench. Like if I get minutes when we play River Ridge because River Ridge sucks, that makes me happy that my enjoyment goes up. My
keeps you so engaged.
My engagement goes up, and engagement is the biggest thing. For basketball, it's huge because there's only 12 of you guys on a team, and you really, really need to be a tight unit. For football, it's the case as well because that is it's a full family, and it's something we saw this weekend. Like when everyone is there for each other, like with the A&M injury, those are the kind of moments that shows whether or not a team is with each other. And for people to be able to play, it helps that a ton. For me, my biggest takeaway, though, and I didn't mention it because I wanted to save it for one of the last things we say, the student section showing up. That is going to be the biggest thing the entire year. That has been our biggest problem. And during my time as a student, it's just students not being there and staying there for the game and because we're getting blown out. Or we don't keep it close enough to where we get to the fourth quarter and the students have already left. The fan turnout was, of course, poor, but I wouldn't expect it against Alcorn State. I completely expect it here in the next 2 weeks, and it better be. Right now, that was the disappointing thing, the Arizona State game, that the top level was not full, and even the middle level the lower level was not full of fans. That angers me, and I hope that changes the next 2 weeks. But the student section showing up for Alcorn State, I thought was massive because that's a weekend I took advantage of going home and going to see my family, and for our students to still pretty much fill out the student section. I thought that was huge
It's
for the
very
rest
full.
of the season because, as we saw in the Arizona State game, with the student section rocking, like we essentially make up for the entire stadium not being full, and that influences the game, and it did against Arizona State. So that needs to continue to be the case going forward. I just thought that was a huge positive to see that on Twitter this weekend was massive.
Yeah.
I agree. Do you have anything else to say?
Couple injuries not from the game. Stonka Burnside was not dressed out on Saturday. Albert Reese was not dressed out on Saturday. Hopefully, whatever is the issue with both those guys is very short-lived and they recover quickly. I don't think Stonka's seen a whole lot of playing time. He is not. One thing I noticed, we have a wide receiver now who wears the number 5, which I don't know if we had confirmed that Stonka was only going to play defense, but that confirmed it because you're not going to have 2 offensive wide receivers with
You
number.
can't have them on the field at the same time.
But I don't see. Like, I don't think that would be unnecessarily confusing to have 2 guys in the same position group with the
Agreed.
same number. So I think Stonka is 100% defensive
Sure.
in special teams now. That's just my theory, given that we have another wide receiver wearing 5. And then last thing, offensive guys, 24 played 10-plus snaps. No one played more than 37. The guys that got there, it was like Shapen, a couple of O-linemen, and then Anthony, the wide receiver. Anthony Evans. Thank you. Sorry, I just blanked on his name.
Dog.
Too many names. For real. He was great. That's everything I have. I'm about to go. I actually need to do this. I meant to send this like a couple days ago. Yeah. I'm glad they're taking care of Albert. But if you are a State fan and you have a ticket, don't sell it to a Tennessee fan. That's what is. I'm very nervous because I've seen it when we play big teams, and Tennessee is a big team right now nationally. They've got a huge fan base.
Not afraid to travel.
Not afraid to travel. It happened when Georgia came here. The stands were full of red splotches in the sea of maroon or the sea of white or whatever it was. Just give it away.
It was
like,
maroon that night.
It was maroon. If you've got a ticket, give it to a State fan. You probably know one. It makes me so frustrated.
I'm like 20% State fan. If you gave me a ticket to the Tennessee game, I would put on State colors and ring a cowbell.
Appreciate it. That's the thing is like it's not that hard to find State fans in Mississippi, especially if you're giving the tickets away for free. And like, I know you want to make your money back, but just don't sell them to Tennessee fans, please. It bothers the freak out of me. It's unnecessary. We're giving them an advantage. We should never have that much of another team's color in our stadium.
Sure.
It is so sad. I wish that there was a way, like if you want to sell, like I wish there was a way you could like guarantee who you're selling it to was like your team. Like there should be a website like Ticket Hub or StubHub, but like you can only sell it like between fans
sure.
of the same team.
Yeah. Before we move on, I'll give my take on the game real quick.
Sure.
And that's thank you, Mississippi State, for blowing Alcorn State out so the tailgate could swap to the A&M kickoff when 6:30 hit and State got relegated to the laptop. Shout out to the Oakleys and shout out to State for making that happen.
Yep.
Because there was no reason to keep that game on.
That's
So,
awesome. The Bulldogs will play Northern Illinois this
Do we
Saturday.
have the kickoff time yet?
I think it's a 3:30 kickoff if I'm not mistaken.
Projected to be 100 degrees is what I heard.
Yeah, it's going to be a hot one. Hopefully
My
there's
camera
some
will
clouds
be
that
overheating
day.
again.
We need to get you like an umbrella for it.
We
I may
will.
have to, or a little fan.
We will
Yeah.
talk about that game on Thursday, but I will go ahead and say that's a bit of a I don't know the word off the top of my head now, but it's a bit of a awkward situation for me because I am the head coach at Northern Illinois right now
Sure.
for the men's basketball team in the year 2012, of course. But that's a bit of a mixed emotions there, but I'll be cheering for State this week, and I can go ahead and reveal that.
I'm glad.
And I'm excited for the upcoming 2013 season at Northern Illinois here in the coming months when
Sure.
college basketball starts up. But we will talk about that game on Thursday. And now we get into what apparently is now going to become the hot topic of the show.
Oh, I cannot wait.
Vanderbilt and South Carolina. It is our technical foul game of the week. This was the one that was picked by the fans. Which fan picked it?
Clifton.
Clifton picked it specifically. Good pick,
We
Clifton.
haven't had enough people make comments to like
Clifton
have
was
like a vote.
at the Saints game today. Just thought you should know. You have a
Big,
fellow.
he's a big Saints fan.
I feel bad for him. I don't want to get into that one. That was a tough one.
Okay.
Vanderbilt had only outgained South Carolina by 18 yards in the first half, but as Sanders said earlier, Williams-Brice was rocking first play of the game. Brian Thomas gets in the backfield nearly the same time the ball is handed off, 4-yard loss. Vanderbilt responds, though. Quick screen to Stowers for a first down. Pavia, as Sanders also said, had this goofy throwback lateral to Cedric Alexander that picks up a first down on 3rd and 6. Huge play. And then the drive is capped off by a one-headed catch by Cedric Alexander. South Carolina comes roaring back with Lenora Sellers. They hit on the first play for about 30 to 40 yards. They have 4 10-plus yard plays on the drive, touchdown. South Carolina gets the ball back later in the game. They're driving again, and then Sellers throws inarguably a bad pick. He falls for a late drop from the defensive tackle, and I'd almost argued that it was like the defensive tackle got stonewalled by the center, so he's like, okay, I guess I'll just drop back into pass coverage right now.
I'll act like that was intentional.
That's
Yeah,
what it
calculated.
looked like when I watched it, and he gets picked off throwing the angle route to the halfback. It's a huge play in the game. It's huge momentum. The zig route, which Zachariah Branch scores a 2-point conversion on in the Georgia-Tennessee game. But the zig route is scored for a touchdown off of that interception for Vandy. Junior Sherrill scores the touchdown to give Vandy the lead back. And then Lenora Sellers gets hurt. Concussion is what they ended up calling it. If he gets through protocol, I think he's going to play this weekend. He has so much time.
They need him to play.
And they will need him to play because they go to the school up north and play.
Also, the
Old
way that
Piss.
whole thing went down with them not reviewing it, and after the play was snapped, and they're about to hit a potential big play to Nick Harbor, and they're like, no, we're going to review
Yep.
it.
I
Is
watched
brutal.
I watched the highlights. They didn't show a replay of the hit. Was it a bogus targeting call or was it valid? I thought it looked the one angle I saw it looked bogus.
For me, watching it live, I thought it was stupid.
Yeah.
That we even got to review
Yeah.
it, and especially reviewing it as late as they did.
Correct.
Where we've essentially snapped the ball, and South Carolina hits a huge play.
That was the funny part is how upset all the South Carolina fans were. And then it turns out they were reviewing for targeting, and they were like, "Let's go!"
Well, I mean, Beamer was furious.
still not
He
going,
was.
let's go.
But after the Lenora Sellers injury, they kind of drive down the field with their backup and get in field goal range, miss the field goal. And then, as we've already said twice, the second half drives for South Carolina are a punt, turnover on downs, fumble, interception, ball game. Vandy essentially blows out South Carolina 31-7 in their home building. They took great light to that on Twitter. Multiple fans that were at the game took pictures of the stadium in the fourth quarter. But it's a impressive win for Vanderbilt. I will say Diego Pavia managed the game well. Cedric Alexander is one of the better backs in the SEC. And the defense,
You're welcome for him in the College Keeper League.
I think I appreciate it. The defense, I think, deserves credit.
100%.
Punt, turnover on downs, fumble, interception is not just bad offense.
Two sides to that story. Yeah.
There's definitely two sides to it. I think they deserve credit for that and how they played in the second half. And defense always travels, and defense did travel for Vanderbilt on Saturday. So I think they deserve a ton of credit for that. Do they deserve enough credit to go from unranked to number 8 in the country? No, but they deserve enough credit to be ranked. I would have understood the argument for ranking them last week. And I think the biggest thing is you can clearly see why they were as close in the spread with South Carolina, a 11th ranked team in the nation, with how they looked on Saturday. As I said earlier, it's the first win in an SEC opener for Vanderbilt since 2011, and they look to continue on what was a great success last year with an upset win against Alabama, and now another marquee win against South Carolina early on.
Yeah. About Diego Pavia, I don't have the exact quote. I was listening to Josh Pate's show from Thursday. He has Cole Kubelik on, and Cole says something basically it was Diego Pavia is the kind of guy who when you watch him, he's going to do something, and your reaction is going to be one of two things. and part of my language, but I think this is the basic quote is you're going to be like, oh, shit. Or you're going to be like, oh, shit. Basically, he's going to do something, and it's going to work, and Vandy's going to win, or it's not, and it's going to lose. And it's the lateral, like the wild lateral where he's running and turns, and no other quarterback would probably think to do this. Over a arm, throws the lateral ball out and swings it to Cedric Alexander because there's no one over there because they're all going to the quarterback. He's that kind of quarterback. And last year it worked for Vandy, and he won him a couple games, lost in some games. Right now he's got him to 3-0 and has looked impressive doing it. I don't know if that kind of thing is sustainable. It's wild that he was able to do it on the road in such a loud environment because, like I said it in an earlier segment because this is his own YouTube video. I'll say it again. I watched the highlights, and that tackle for loss had the kind of feeling of like when a lesser opponent goes in and you think it's going to be close and you realize very early on that it's just not. Kind of like like if Georgia played us a couple years ago and, we try to hype ourselves up because we're an SEC school and Georgia comes in and like starts off 3 and out with a sack and, 2 tackles for losses or a pass breakup. It's that kind of feeling where immediately you realize
it happened in the Alabama game when Bryce Young was here.
Exactly. You realize, oh, these are not the same. And that's what it felt like. And then the way Vanderbilt bounced back, like you talked about, impressed me a lot. That's kind of like those are... Oh, and Vandy's defense, I don't know who calls the plays for their defense, but I love his timing on his blitzes and the way he drew them up. Watching those highlights, they were constantly getting free guys to the quarterback. And it wasn't... I mean, it was very well done defensively. So their defense looked fantastic. They were flying all over the field. The 2 forced fumbles were either them strip sacks. I believe they were both in the field. I know one of them was. I don't remember about the other.
Both of them were in the field.
That's what I thought. So that's really good defense. I mean, that's also potentially poor ball protection, but to have your guys go after the ball that aggressively and be able to punch it out, that was really big. So their defense from Vandy, even though they weren't playing Lawrence Stellars, impressed the heck out of me.
Yeah, their defense looked solid. It looked good. Very scrappy, which is what we've come to expect from this Vanderbilt team. They know they don't have the most talent, but they make up for it in heart. Similar with their offense, like they're gonna scrap. So I liked what I saw there. I liked what I saw from Vandy, but I've also just been pretty low on South Carolina and basically calling them Lenore Sellers' team.
They showed that,
and they showed that, in my opinion. Like I feel very validated in that opinion that they don't really have the bodies throughout the team to compete in the SEC week in, week out either. Shout out Vandy. It's a huge win on the road. You will take that any day of the week. But I have a lot of big questions about South Carolina. I really already had those questions, but now they've become even larger and even more clear. So
I feel like we didn't disagree that much. I mean,
we
other than the fact
disagree
that
about
I
the
ranked,
ranking.
the fact that I ranked them
atrocious.
very, very high. We disagree about that vehemently. But the game itself, we agree on pretty much.
Sure.
Vandy was impressive offensively and defensively, and South Carolina
laid an egg.
Struggled a lot.
It wasn't October yet is the problem. So
True.
it's not their time yet. They've not blossomed. They play Missouri next.
Vanderbilt or South Carolina?
South Carolina.
Just talking about if
School up
Lenore
north.
is healthy. School up north.
Is it?
They're at the school,
Okay.
That's
No.
tough.
That is unlucky.
if I'm not mistaken.
I thought it was Missouri, but I could be wrong. It's pretty irrelevant, to be honest. Well, it does matter, but irrelevant for the segment, I guess, is what I'm saying.
They play Missouri at Missouri. I had that wrong. They will play at the School of North at some point
Sure.
this year, but they do play at Missouri. Noon kickoff next week.
Anything else on this game before we move on?
I think we're good.
Yeah.
Cool. Shout out Vandy. Also, real quick, sorry. Shout out Theo Vaughn and Diego Pavia's mom. I hope y'all's date goes well.
Yeah.
Assuming y'all do end up going on that. Where do y'all think they're going? Where do you think Theo Vaughn takes someone on a date?
I could see you're taking get gas station chicken.
That's okay.
That's very in character for
completely
Theo.
disagree.
It's Theo Vaughn. That feels like something he'd do.
I feel
No,
like he
he's a
locks
man.
in for a date and goes gentleman mode.
Interesting.
They're going to
He's
get
a-
Italian or
If
something.
you watched his interview with the Rizzler, you know that he is one of those guys that he is amazing at playing to the person he's having a conversation with.
Yeah.
And I think he would treat Diego Pavia's mother with a ton of respect.
which she deserves.
Yes, absolutely. As all moms do.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Okay.
Shout
now-
out also, Andrew McBride makes a great point about ball security. We are currently watching Sunday Night Football. Great punch. Way to get the ball out.
The Falcons should be up like 17-0 in this game.
They're
and
up 6-0.
Yeah.
Should be at 21-0.
Yeah, honestly. We can move on to our next game. Clemson at Georgia, which JP was boots on the ground for, but Clemson at Georgia Tech, I apologize, which JP was boots on the ground for. Georgia Tech pulls off the fire drill field goal to win it at the last second, 27-24.
24-21.
24-21. Awkward. JP, I'll let you take it away. You were there. Thoughts on the game? Thoughts on the game atmosphere? Just give it to us.
Yeah, beautiful day, beautiful weekend. The sky was perfectly clear, which was unfortunate because that meant that the sun was beating down on you the entire game. I did a fine job, but I've got some sunburn here and there, and it was hot. It was very hot. But the tailgate scene was interesting. Not a ton of it, really. It's really just kind of people like walking around and standing around. There's a few areas where they tailgate a little bit, but it's nothing like the Junction and nothing like any other SEC environment there.
It's in downtown Atlanta, isn't it?
Yes, it's in downtown Atlanta, but there's spots where they could
Okay.
be, and they're not really. For the most part, like the tailgating is kind of the frat houses just hanging out on their lawn. Flo Rida was performing outside the stadium at 9:30 a.m., which was a sight to see, especially with the crowd that was there as well. And then his music, of course, is very interesting for 9:30 in the morning. And then I would say arguably my high school friend's frat band was better. He put on an amazing set list that included songs like Sedona, and then he also sang Buddy Holly.
Fire.
He was very good, and it was really sweet to see him. He's the president of Chi Psi at Georgia Tech, so an incredible performance to Darren if you're watching, which he isn't. But credit to him. He's not the guy who's not watching. Screw that guy. He was there, though. I was hanging out with that guy. Had a great weekend there. I will say, stadium, I was asked this during the game. It's not crazy. It's
Sure.
not a tremendous environment. As I said, it would be the worst environment in the SEC, even if it was full, which it wasn't full, and it was 25%
It really
full.
wasn't full.
No, it was
Wow.
25% full of Clemson fans. The Arizona State game was more full than that game.
Wow.
And the capacity it's a lie. They say they can fit 65,000 in there. Maybe if it was standing room only. Then no way there's 65,000 seats. The pregame show lacked a ton of hype, I won't lie. It was kind of piss poor. But I will say, and if you pull up, let's pull up like whatever the first photo is.
I think that's pregame.
Yes, this something about being downtown, and then seeing the city that I've grown up in, the city that I love in Atlanta, while watching a ball game in front of you, a college football game, was truly incredible. The view was immaculate up top. Like if you were down low and you couldn't see above the stadium, it would be. I honestly think it would suck. But being up that high and being in one of the biggest cities in the world, and just seeing downtown, you can see everything. You can see the Benz where the Falcons play from up there, and then you can see all of the buildings. You can see the AT&T building, the Weston building, the Coca-Cola building. Like, it was beautiful, and that view was immaculate. To watch that the entire game and that be kind of like the background of a incredible football game. It was something about it. It was awesome. I will say, like I said, it was really, really hot. That is one of the few times clouds started to appear. There wasn't that very many clouds the rest of the game. Smart on Georgia Tech doing a whiteout. I don't know why Clemson wore purple in those conditions. That would not help with the heat. I also we rarely ever wear purple with white pants, so that was weird. In terms of the actual game, and I can tell you from sitting in there and how I felt, I'll go ahead and tell you my biggest takeaway. I would rather have Haynes King than Kay Klubnik on a college football team right now. I think Clemson would rather have Haynes King than Kay Klubnik right now. He was incredible throughout the entire game. Clemson never should have been in this game really at all. I think the argument that some Clemson fans might make, which I doubt, but you could make it is, we just kind of missed a few opportunities because they did miss a field goal in the first half, and then you come out right there to start the second half. You drive all the way down the field and throw a pick inside the 10-yard line. I understand maybe that argument. But Georgia Tech also left 15 points on the field with the first drive. They get all the way down the field, and then for whatever reason, they take the ball out of Haynes King's hand. They throw a quick screen to Jamal Haynes, and it gets blown up in the backfield. They would not make that mistake again. And then they also missed a few opportunities as well where they're forced to kick field goals twice when they really shouldn't have been. But Georgia Tech on third down really told the story. Early in the game, on third down, 21-yard pass, 18-yard pass, 42-yard pass. All of those led to scores on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 5. And that's with Haynes King. Like, that's Haynes King throwing the ball 21 yards, 18 yards, 42-yard pass. And then at the end of the game, it was Haynes King. Like I said, they did not make the mistake of taking it out of his hand late in the game. They are 5 of their last 6 on third down. 4 are Haynes King runs. 3rd and 2, 3rd and goal, 3rd and 1, and 3rd and 2. All Haynes King runs. Pick up all 4 of them. The only time they don't pick up the third down is when it was 3rd and 16. Haynes King scrambles, gets a yard short, and then they fumbled the tight end snap under the center, which ended up being a turnover. But they were incredible down the stretch. As soon as Haynes King got the ball to end the game, I think everyone in the stadium knew, and including me, that they were not losing this game. They were getting a chance at least to kick a field goal.
Yeah.
Because there was nothing to stop Georgia Tech in running the ball with Haynes King. My mom's fiance, who's a big Clemson fan, all you hear from him pretty much the entire second half is, dude, we can't stop him. We can't stop him. Oh, here comes another Haynes King run. And when everyone in the building knows that's what's coming and it still works, it's awesome. Quarterback power is, I think, one of my favorite plays in all of football.
I love running it in College Football 26.
And they ran it a ton. It's just incredible to just be able to just snap the ball to your quarterback, pull a guard, and just pick up 5 yards whenever you need to. In the biggest mode in the game, on first down, it doesn't matter.
Do you remember in yapping when they got the ball back, I texted and said the line for Haynes King passes on this drive, 1.5.
Yeah.
Do you know how many he threw?
1.
He threw 2. He hit the over.
Shout out Haynes.
It was an elite line, though.
It was a good line.
I couldn't remember off the top of my head. He threw 2 passes in that last, and like you said, you knew what was coming. That's why it was 1.5, and they just couldn't stop it.
There was discourse over the way like Dabo managed the end of the game, which I think is, I'll go ahead and say, complete bullshit, because he managed it correctly, in my opinion. And this is a guy who's played 10 million hours of Madden and college football, so I know how to manage the clock at end of games. Sure. And in that scenario, when Georgia Tech only has 1 timeout and they use it because they can't get a play in on third down, you don't call the timeout. You make them run the fire drill. They snapped it with literally 2 seconds on the clock. They were rushing. The kicker was not ready. Like, the kicker, I can tell you, was not ready. He was basically next to where his net is at the 20-yard line, runs 40 yards out to his spot, and credit to him, Bird knocks in a 55-yarder. But you do that every time instead of calling the timeout to have, 17 seconds? And
it doesn't really matter. And you've not been moving the
with
ball
how
well at all.
You haven't been able to throw the ball down the field. Like, that is your best chance to win right there, at least force overtime. And so I think Dabo did the right thing, and I completely understood it. I would have done the same thing as well.
Sure.
So the Clemson Tigers do not need me.
Correct.
But it was an incredible game. It was truly cinema. Back-to-back weeks, seeing a field rush. Their field rush was a lot better. I will say, like, the energy in the field rush was a little weird. Like, it wasn't like just like pandemonium like ours was last week. But also, their field rush was way easier because they literally just have a gate you can open, and the fan for the student section just pours onto the field.
They got out there faster.
Yes.
The speed was there. Talking about them being too distinguished and a lot of nerds, they may not know how to celebrate that quite as well.
Yes,
but I get it.
The point you make at the field goal is another thing. I actually was texting Clifton, one of our viewers. I don't know if he's in here right now. He may not be, about that, because he texted me, or he texted me and said, "Why Dabo not call a timeout there?" And I was like, "It makes sense because you're hoping that the hurry up and the fire drill leads to a mistake." I was like, the odds of them missing that field goal in that situation are way higher than Clemson getting a field goal with 17 seconds.
I think he was more
You
likely
play
to
the
miss
odds
that
there.
kick than make it.
Agreed. Unfortunately, what is the problem with the public is that right now the recent memory of those plays have all been successful.
Right. TCU did it.
TCU at Baylor last week, week 1. Kansas City in Brazil did the fire drill to end the half.
Yeah.
And then that. And so in hindsight, when those are the most 3 recent ones you can think of that everyone's seen, now it like doesn't make sense. That's the right play every single time though.
Yeah.
Is to make
The odds
them
of
fire
hitting
drill.
a 50, it was 55 yards?
Yeah.
Something like that. The odds of
55.
hitting a 55-yarder without the fire drill
I'm
is
not
not
expecting a
great
college
as a
kicker to
college
hit that.
kicker.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you're having to hurry out there, like you said, there were 2 seconds left when they snapped it. Everything was like, it made perfect sense. I think Dabo played that perfectly, and it was like the odds of him, like you said, making that are less than 50%. So I think that Dabo played the odds there and lost.
I want to give credit though. They kind of followed the game plan. Clemson did. Like Adam Randall got the rock 15 times for 80 yards. He ran for 5 yards per carry. He had the big 3rd and 19, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I think it was 3rd and 22 actually. Ran, got the first down. It was a massive play. Clemson goes down and drives. Cade was kind of getting flack both in the chat and apparently from Clemson media and then even from fans in there. Over multiple things. One, he said that Georgia Tech felt like it was a high school stadium for him, which I'll go ahead and say he's not wrong. He played high school in Texas at a 6 or 7A level.
He would play at Austin Westlake, so yeah, 6A, I believe.
And so those stadiums, I would tell you, are very comparable to what Bobby Dodd is in terms of a look and capacity-wise. So there was discourse because they played that clip numerous times on the board throughout the game.
Sure.
To make fun of him. And then also, like, he wasn't seeing receivers. I think personally, like, from my view, which I had an all-22 view, which was nice for a guy who loves all-22, I just don't think he was ever in a spot at times to see guys open. There was poor communication at a few times where they just don't run the right route and K kind of misses them. But I will say I am wrong in how I felt in the building where it didn't feel like the ground game was that established, and so it didn't feel like we could go over the top. But statistically, we
You averaged
100%,
5 yards per carry.
we 100% were. So that just didn't feel like we were, and I think Clemson had that issue. They just didn't take enough downfield shots. Georgia Tech could play 2 high safeties pretty much the entire game. Bryant Wesco was really, really good, except for a key drop on a 3rd down late in the game. And then the Cade interception was inexcusable. Like, that is...
Very
that
cool.
honestly, like, without the DJ Lagway, Garrett Nussmeier game, that would have been the worst pick of the entire weekend.
Sure.
Because he fakes the RPO and just sits there and sits there and sits there and stares down his receiver and finally throws it. And he just gets baited, and it was just terrible. And now DJ Lagway outdid that, and I would argue even Nuss outdid that with his pick late in the game.
Oh, man.
That pick was just awful.
That's my one qualm with Nussmeier, man. That's way too common from him.
But it was a huge point in the game. You can't make that mistake. That is why ball security matters so much inside the red area, because I would argue if they scored a touchdown on that drive, they would have won this game. They would have been able to control the momentum the rest of the way, and they would have won this game in the second half going away. But making that mistake forces you to now have to drive down the field again. They're able to respond with a touchdown right after it, forcing a punt. But it took so much time off the clock, too, which ends up being the factor at the end of the game as well. But like I said, my biggest takeaway from the game, I would rather have Haynes King on my college football team than Kate Klubnik.
That's fair. I love, Georgia Tech goes into a game and they know the game plan at this point is just going to be where he's going to pound the rock with Haynes King, right? And they don't
25 carries.
They don't get scared of it if it doesn't really work early in the game, right? Because they know eventually they're going to wear down the defense, and when it matters late game, he's going to get it done and pick up the yards because it took a while to get it going. And you mentioned the second half, he took over. He ended up with a little over 100 rushing yards, but just very well done from him. Very well done from Brent Key in general. Andrew said in the chat he feels like Tech played harder for King than Clemson played for Klubnik. I think just Tech played harder in general. I don't necessarily know if it comes down to Georgia Tech liking King more than Clemson likes Klubnik, for example. But Georgia Tech just gets up for games with this current team makeup, and they really love playing with each other, and that matters. So, huge win for them. Very happy for them. Very happy for Aggie legend Haynes King.
Yeah, a few stats I was able to look at it finally after the game, and these are things you really don't realize. So Clemson had 8 TFLs. Georgia Tech had none.
Wow.
What is Josh Bate calls that a bad luck stat?
That would be a bad luck stat. Haynes King carries the ball 25 times, which was 10 off of what Clemson carried the entire game. But I think biggest thing for Tech was obviously Haynes King late in the game running the ball, but those third downs, as I said, early in the game were so critical for Georgia Tech getting out to that early lead. 3rd and 5, a 21-yard pass. 3rd and 9, an 18-yard pass. 3rd and 8, a 42-yard pass. They were about 500 on third down, but it was the critical third downs that won them the game. The end of the game and early in the game getting that lead. You have to give a ton of credit to Georgia Tech. I'll say, field rushing is completely fine because I think that was their first win against Clemson since 2011 is the year off the top of my head. It might be earlier than that, but it's a big win. It's a win over Clemson. But they should have been already ranked. That should have been a ranked battle anyway.
Sure.
They would have stormed anyway.
They would have stormed anyway.
We've gotten to the point now where field stormings are not reserved for unranked versus ranked.
But it was a great environment. The stadium is not that great, but the crowd was great. Post game was very interesting. A lot of, I understand because I felt what Georgia Tech fans were feeling a week ago walking out of Davis Wade. But I did think some of the fans were a little rude in some ways. I of course didn't see every reaction from a State fan outside of this building last week, but the things that I saw outside of the stadium were not great, including one Georgia Tech student getting in a fight with, I would say, grandparents in their 70s, and they're each calling each other liberals. No, you're the bigger liberal. No, you're the bigger liberal. And it was hilarious because it's Clemson fans, and this guy was not a liberal. He was a conservative Georgia Tech fan. And it was just those kind of things were crazy to see. I wearing Clemson gear. I obviously got flack while I was walking out of the stadium. Got called the P word, the F word. Did not get called the N word, so big dub there. Especially considering the student body that Tech has, where they are very diverse. I was kind of expecting that, but it was like I said at the beginning of the show, I would take that weekend 100 times out of 100, and the game was a large part of that.
Sure.
It was incredible. I'm excited to go to more games this year, and I already am looking for the next game to go to, which would be when we're on our bye week and we're on fall break. I want to go to a college football game that weekend, whatever I can find.
Valid.
Cool.
We can move on to our next game, though. Good recap. Thanks, JP, for your boots on the ground analysis. That was pretty sick.
Oh, show the field rush. Did you show that?
Yeah. That's just another
Another
angle.
picture.
This is the field rush.
Yeah, that's the field rush right there. My view of the stadium. Isn't that just beautiful, Atlanta? And the field rush there with the fans.
So you are at Clemson. You seem. I'm not gonna. I don't know. Were you happy with it? You just seem very pleased with the game. Is it just were you disappointed that Clemson lost, or you just kind of
Oh, it sucked to lose, especially to lose the way you do. And I would obviously not happy with the decisions Cade made in critical moments. But I for me, it is. I was already at this point, but I can tell you right now that Clemson fans now feel like, oh, okay, now we can just kind of watch the season and just watch the season. Like, we don't have to worry about, like, making the playoff or winning the ACC or anything like that, which are still completely
Correct.
in the picture. But, like, that's not something we have to, like, just, like, grit our teeth and chew on our nails about. Like, that's not something we have to worry about. I was in complete content because when you love the sport as much as you do and you see a moment like that and a fire drill game winner field goal, like, I could care less that my team lost that game. The only, like, moment I'd feel like actually upset would be like if that was the Egg Bowl. Then I'm upset. Other than that,
Sure.
like, I do not care.
Yeah.
That goes true for state too, because at the end of the day, you would love to see your team win, but for me, I'm attending games to watch cinema.
Yeah.
And that was cinema. And so
Fair.
for me, I'm completely content. I'm not overly upset with Clemson losing because I love Georgia Tech.
Yeah. And it's kind of like Tucker said,
Buzz,
where
buzz.
if the kicker hits that 50-yard fire drill, you kind of just have to tip your hat.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
it's like you said, despite recency bias, that's a wild thing to do. That's not actually realistic expectations, is to hit that consistently.
The normal
So
thing would be for him to pull the Tennessee kicker move and
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
nowhere close.
we can get into that.
Yep.
Whoa.
We can. The biggest SEC clash of the day, Georgia took the trip to Tennessee, a matchup they've dominated with Kirby Smart, and especially since Heupel's gotten to Tennessee. Heupel's offense at Tennessee has not really worked against Georgia, and that was not at all the case yesterday. Tennessee managed to put up 41 points. Unfortunately, they missed the game-winning kick in regulation, so it goes to overtime, and Georgia wins in overtime. And I will say, that guy had no chance of making that kick. He was about to faint on the sideline. You said he was hyperventilating. They're talking about him taking like deep breaths and coaches coming over and talking to him. And he never had attempted a go-ahead field goal before in the fourth quarter.
Yep. They showed that stat like 5 times.
You just kind of knew it was over, and it was. And as many points as they scored, Georgia rose to the occasion. Like offense we had questions about, and they answered. Gunnar Stockton answered what he can do as a passer in a lot of ways, in a ton of
Incredible.
ways. And Kirby Smart in Georgia rips out Rocky Top's heart again. So my first question is, it's a high-scoring game. To get the conversation started, more impressed with the offenses, or like, are y'all still have defensive questions, or are you like, man, this is just a battle between heavyweight titans, and yeah, the score got high, but it says a lot more about the offense than the defense.
I think Tennessee kind of hurt themselves because I do think that offense was dynamic, but I think it ended up hurting them down the stretch because it was so dynamic. They kept scoring too quick. Their first 2 drives, they scored in 2.5 minutes and 30 seconds, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, 2.5 minutes and then under 30 seconds. And then their next drive was 8.5 minutes. But they just weren't giving their defense time to rest early, and I think that's why Georgia came back from that 21-7 deficit. I have it put up here. Gunnar Stockton started 4 for 8 in the first quarter. Did not have a very good first quarter. Had 4 incompletions. Proceeded to have 5 incompletions the rest of the game. Went 19 for 24. Time of possession was Georgia 50 minutes, Tennessee 24 minutes. And I don't know exactly how
That's
that's
insane.
calculated with the overtime. It doesn't add up to 60. But however it's calculated, Georgia had the ball for so much longer. And so Tennessee, Georgia takes a nice, 4 or 5 minute drive, goes down, scores. Tennessee counters with like a 40-second possession or a 2-minute possession. It was just absurd stuff that it's really fun to watch that as a fan, because you forget that the defense who was just out there has to come back out there again and try and stop a very physical Georgia team who's improved on the run game. So I really think that was kind of what we learned, is that Tennessee scored too quick at times to give their defense time to rest. Because it is a good defense. I mean, they had a good defense last year, and they played really well when they were fresh.
Sure. I get that. It's just kind of also a thing of like, you can't tell your team to stop scoring and hitting explosive plays.
Definitely not. I'm not saying it's like something they should have tried to avoid, but I think that was one of the reasons the game went the way it did.
Correct. Yeah. Makes sense. JP, your thoughts on that?
I thought
I mean, I know your thoughts based on who you have ranked number 1.
for
but
both of the teams, I think it was completely just a story of hell yeah, quarterback. Gunnar Stockton was ridiculous. Bullets on the money, throwing with touch, running for first downs, and then the two biggest plays of the game, the touchdown on 4th and 6, which I would say is one of the best throws I've ever seen from a college quarterback in a clutch moment. Like, to throw that with touch and put it on the money, and Humphreys just catches it and falls in.
Play call
to the
goes
end
crazy
zone.
too. Like, so much trust there.
To have the trust there was incredible. And it was the biggest play of the game. It won them the game, it felt like. And then the 2-point conversion, he was perfect on too. They run again, like I said, the zig route, which is just undefeated, it feels like, on the goal line. With Zachariah Branch, they kind of motion him in. He fakes the slant, falls out to the flat. Gunnar Stockton doesn't hesitate at all. Bullet, dime, 38-38. Missed the field goal, you end up winning. But I thought, for Tennessee, it is unbelievably heartbreaking to lose that game. But if you just thought about Joey Aguilar, you can't be anything but ecstatic for the rest of the season, because he was exactly what you want from a Tennessee quarterback. Aggressive, no fear, trusting receivers, gave them multiple chances down the field. They score explosive plays off ton of them. Did he make mistakes? Yeah, he had 2 picks in that game. Just some bad plays here and there, but that's going to happen when you're running at that kind of pace where you literally can't fast forward. You can't double click on YouTube TV and fast forward 10 seconds because you'll miss the next play. That's how fast they're moving.
Sure.
And that's going to make mistakes for Joey Aguilar. But for him to play with that kind of confidence at home and to throw the deep ball as well as he did and give his receivers chances, I don't think you can be anything but happy as a Tennessee fan about Joey Aguilar. And for a Georgia fan, I mean, now you think the sky is the limit.
Yeah.
That this is like, okay, we're going to win the national championship. Because if you have quarterback play like that in the biggest moment of the season so far, it can't be anything but positive, considering the discourse over how the quarterback play was last year in the big moments.
Sure.
That's unbelievably impressive from Gunnar Stockton, especially when he's a guy you just don't expect it out of whatsoever kind of going into the game. You just think of as a runner and as a guy who can really only throw a bullet for the most part. But he was able to throw with touch, and he was incredible.
Yeah.
So for me, quarterbacks, that's the biggest takeaway from the game. I thought they were both incredible.
100% agree. It's like the ceiling of both these teams has now risen, in my opinion, to what I thought going into it. But I will say, look, talking about Georgia's defense, and Andrew McBride is talking about it in the chat, talking about how he was concerned with the DBs. I get that. I would have liked their DBs to look better. It's a matchup they've really dominated in the past couple years. And Tennessee, not necessarily last year, but they're normally a high-flying offense that passes a ton. And so I think I'm kind of choosing to take that approach of being like, Tennessee just kind of is going to throw it on almost anyone. And, yes, I would have liked the DBs to play better. But I think just the pace and kind of they got put on their back foot and they couldn't ever recover.
Yeah.
So I'm not really too concerned about this defense long-term from that standpoint. Tennessee's is a very tough offense to have to play against.
It was also there were spots like they just kind of got lost.
Yeah.
You think of the third touchdown for Tennessee where I think it was KJ Bolden is just kind of in no man's land and the receiver just kind of trails behind him and Aguilar throws it in behind him for a touchdown. I obviously I understand the concern with how they played, especially in the jump balls, but they're called 50-50 balls for a reason. And unfortunately for Georgia, they lost pretty much, it felt like every single one of those 50-50 balls the entire game. And they just it's just bad timing. But I will say, I understand, they're football players and they're supposed to be good at doing these things. But can you imagine sprinting 40 yards down the field and the ball is just floating through the air and you have to perfectly time your jump like that? That's hard to execute. And so I think maybe we give them a pass because for Georgia, I trust this defense at some point to have that kind of stand and have that kind of moment because it happened last season. Think of the Alabama game where Alabama's up 28-0. And, of course, Georgia storms back in that game and gives them a chance and they can't complete it. But think the next big game for Georgia against Texas. The defense dominates Texas that entire game. So I just expect this kind of response from Georgia going forward, and I don't think it's as much of a concern as it really should be because I'll say I just think they lost the 50-50 balls, pretty much
Sure.
all of them. And this is a team where their track record clearly shows that they will respond at some point. They were never going to be the typical Georgia defense because they don't have that kind of profile player right now, really anywhere on the defense. But this is a defense that's going to respond, and Kirby's going to get these guys in line at some point. And they're going to have a big game. And that may happen in 2 weeks when Ty Simpson rolls into Sanford Stadium.
Sure. Because, yeah, I mean, we talk about it. You know, they lose all the 50-50 balls and stuff like that. Kirby Smart's not going to be happy with that. We're kind of being like, oh, long term is going to be fine. Kirby Smart's pissed off right now. He got into the locker room after. Whenever they do film session, he's going to tear into the guys and get them right for the next game. I completely agree. And that Alabama game is going to be a ton of fun because I really...
Yep, 2 weeks, ABC.
Maybe it's Copium as they're my national champion pick, but I do think Alabama's kind of... I don't even know if you've turned a corner because you really just were bad for 1 week, but I think they're at least on the right track again.
Yeah, absolutely. The litmus test will be in 2 weeks.
Correct.
I want to say one of the biggest things for me, both watching the game post the Georgia Tech game at the Frat and then watching it again this morning. I love the primetime game. I love the night game atmosphere. I love being in a night game atmosphere. But there's something about these 3:30 primetime SEC games or any primetime game that is just different. Like seeing the sun on that checkerboard at Tennessee and feeling the crowd and feeling that environment. And for whatever reason, they always deliver classics. I mean, think of the CBS. The CBS games were always at 3:30, 4:30 kickoff, or 2:30 kickoff for Central Time. And they're always classics. It always felt like it was the best SEC game of the weekend. And
It's
even this
was.
season, it has been the case. Last week, Ole Miss and Kentucky came down to the wire. That was the 2:30 kickoff for Central Time.
And that was a bad 2:30 kickoff. Like that was probably one of the worst weeks you're going to see on paper.
And then week 1, Florida State and Alabama was that 2:30 ABC primetime game. So it was really, really cool. It felt like watching an old CBS SEC game, watching that game.
Sure.
On Saturday, and that was really, really cool to see. And I thought Fowler mentioned it in the broadcast at some point. I think it was early on in the game that it was just something about with the sun being there. Like they call so many primetime night games that they just don't get to see it. To see the sun, and I would assume Rocky Top was beautiful that day as well. I thought that was the best college environment of the weekend.
I agree. That was the best game of the day. Putting my bias aside, because that obviously was not the best game of the day for me.
I think presentation helped a ton with ESPN. Like the
NBC can't. Oh my gosh!
Holy
bro.
dog shit! That thing was terrible. That's the only way to put it. Which is such a shame, considering how good their presentation can be, with what most of y'all are watching right now on NBC with Sunday Night Football. It's a shame that the college football is just terrible.
It's very poor.
I don't understand it. It makes no sense.
Any thoughts on this game before we move on, Sanders?
No.
Anything else, I guess? You've already given thoughts, but cool.
I'm nervous. We're not going to get into a full preview. Tennessee versus Mississippi State in 2 weeks in Davis Wade. I'm excited. I've already talked, I think it was you. I said, I mean, the game it's going to be a high-scoring game, I think.
Maybe.
You never know.
Yeah, we'll get into that in 2 weeks.
Correct.
But seeing the way Tennessee performed against Georgia makes me pretty nervous. Tennessee's a very good team, so we'll find out. Next up.
This game I doubt we'll dwell on for too long.
I have 2 notes on it.
Cool. USF goes to Miami a week after knocking off Florida, which now looks even less impressive. It's still very impressive. I'm not trying to dog on South Florida, but
it's impressive.
Florida had another not great week, and then Miami wins 49-12. Just scored had 2 9-play touchdown drives to kick off the game, and got up 14-0 and just never really looked back. South Florida was just outmatched completely in this game, and they didn't even have the breaks to go their way to keep it close. So, Sanders, give me your 2 notes on the game, then why don't you?
Yeah, my 2 notes were rushing yardage. South Florida averaged 1.5 yards per carry, and Miami averaged 5.4 yards per carry. That's a big one. And then the other one, and this feels like such a homer thing to say, is talent. According to 24/7 Sports, Miami had the 15th most talented roster in the country. South Florida has the 61st most talented roster in the country. Boise State, who they upset in week 1, had the 81st most talented roster in the country. And then finally, Florida had the 12th most talented roster in the country. But now we're kind of learning that maybe Florida's talent is just being very, very poorly managed.
Coaching there's poor. So.
Very poor. We're learning that more and more. We saw it a lot last year, and then we thought it turned a corner. And now we're realizing maybe they just got lucky for a couple weeks to end the season and make it look like they had turned a corner. But those are my big takeaways, is South Florida ran into that the situation I talked about with South Carolina and Vanderbilt, where if you don't look at spreads or odds or anything and you just think about hype, South Florida comes in having just beat Boise State, top 25 team, and I believe the G5 favorite to make the playoffs.
Yes.
They had just beat Florida, who was a top 15 team, had a Heisman frontrunner at quarterback at Florida, and so the hype around them was real. And they go in, and it was just a complete shutdown. Miami shut them down, and then you realized, oh, we got fooled. We got overexcited. Like, go ahead. I mean, you may not have been fooled.
That's a poor takeaway, personally. If you got overexcited and overhyped, then, man, you should have looked at the spread. You should have been realistic.
I picked Miami to cover the spread, but there was a part of me that was like, well, what if South Florida actually is just like this year's a Cinderella football team?
I don't think that's like very legitimate from you. Like, you didn't fully believe that. Just like remembering how you were talking on the pregame show, like you just were you were so confident that Miami was gonna run away with this.
Yeah.
One. So yeah, I get what you're saying, but like,
I just think I hate the reaction of, oh, we were fooled. We were not fooled. It was South Florida versus Miami, who with their talent profile, as you said, like they should win that game. They deserve to have that kind of spread to open that game. They dominated that game because of their talent profile. But I think it's a huge disservice to South Florida to now just like dismiss them and just say, oh, we were fooled, because this is a team that's still, I don't know the odds on it, but I would assume they're top 3 odds on favorite to make the playoff out of the group of 5. And we also have to remember they're a group of 5 team. Like, they're not supposed to compete really well in these games. I think Boise State versus Penn State last year, like, in the playoff, that was not close really whatsoever.
Yeah.
Boise State kind of shocked us with how they played at Oregon early in the year, but I think it's just a huge disservice to South Florida with what they put together the past 2 weeks. And they were in a spot where you never want to be. And this is a spot that, like, it has felt like in these 4 years that State has just found themselves in, of the week before we play this team, in our case, they lose a game they're not supposed to. Alabama did it twice where they lost a game right before we played them. And so now they lock in. And then in this case, South Florida wins a game they're not supposed to twice. And Miami has no choice but to fully lock in on the game and try to shut them down. And they did that. I mean, they were absolutely dominant. We expected that. It's why it was one of my best bets of the weekend. Their talent profile, they're not a team that's going to really beat themselves. At least it's shown. Now,
Mario will give you maybe one a season where he beats the team.
They are also guilty of the Georgia Tech comeback where they didn't kneel it. So this is not necessarily a program that won't, but with this kind of team, they won't. Beck had 2 picks, but I'd argue like where they're at and how they were in those points of the game, it was just he was feeling himself. Like, they had 7 touchdown drives, like extended touchdown drives, not really a ton of explosive plays. But I think it's a disservice to South Florida to just dismiss him and say, oh, we were fooled. Like, Miami is...
That's still a quality team in South Florida.
Yeah, Miami's inarguably a top 5 team in the country right now.
The way Miami's recruited, they've been the best recruiter in the ACC for many years now. And I think we're finally starting to show that, because it takes a couple years to really fill out the depth under Mario Cristobal. Andrew says they have a top 2 line of scrimmage in the nation. I don't know if I go quite that far, but they're dominant. They're top 5.
Yeah.
It's under Ruben Bain, so good. Their offensive line is just dominant. So it was just going to be a tough test. And honestly, I think we're beginning pinch. This could be a changing of the guard season for top dog in the ACC in terms of Clemson is now sitting at 1-2, and Miami just looks so good and so talented.
Yep.
That they're looking to be the team that runs the ACC for the next couple
And
years.
it's a game that's under the radar, but in 2 weeks, Miami goes to Florida State, and so we'll see who's the top dog.
Sure.
Once we get to that point, Miami will host Florida though this weekend, so that's completely
Another
possible that they end up losing that game. If Lagway turns 5 picks into 5 touchdowns, I think Florida has a chance in that game.
That'd be quite the turnaround, I will say. Mont, we did, relative to other games, keep this one pretty short, but I think we're about ready to move on unless anyone wants to add something.
I think I'm good. I could not find the South Florida champion playoff make the playoff odds. I tried, so
All good.
I do know they are favored above Boise State to win the championship. So I don't know if you take that as
So win what?
the national championship.
Oh, okay.
They're
Well,
favored
then,
above
yes.
Boise State. So
That-
I would
that makes
assume
sense.
that they would also be favored to make it over Boise State.
But Tulane, I might be the favorite right now.
I think they
think.
probably are. We can move on.
Yes.
Pen in the notes over as
Yeah,
well when
yeah.
you get the chance. The game of the day for me, as a Texas A&M fan, Texas A&M versus Notre Dame. Texas A&M travels to South Bend. Those road struggles have been very real for this A&M program for years now, especially against ranked teams. And so we went out to look to prove that this team was different, and we ended up pulling off a crazy 41-40 win in South Bend. It's a back-and-forth game. It's a close game the whole time. Crazy plays all around. Massive, massive victory. Y'all's thoughts on the game before I get into mine?
Cinema.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
For me, it was with how well the offenses were moving. That was really awesome to see. It didn't feel like anyone could stop anyone. It felt like the only thing that could be stopped, which it wasn't stopped in one of the most pivotal plays of the game for Notre Dame, but it was the motion C.J. Carr out, Jeremiah Love, quick snap.
They did that way too much. I get they
Way
got
too
the
much.
fourth down on it, but they also failed one because for some reason, if you're going to wildcat Jeremiah Love, why are you trying to do an outside run with that when you need half a yard?
And I also think, why keep C.J. Carr in the game?
Correct.
You're not fooling anybody. As soon as he motions out, if you're playing the video game, you run commit, and it's just over because Jeremiah's not going to throw it.
Yeah. They
And
kept being like, "Oh, I bet they have a pass play out of this." And
There
it
was no
like,
wrinkle.
No.
It was great. They didn't even try to fake a little pitch reverse or anything. So I think that was the only thing for me that was just going to be stopped. Outside of just Marcel Reed getting pressured immediately, which happened a few times. And I loved, there were a couple times where Noah Eagle says, Notre Dame brings the blitz. They picked up the blitz. And then Marcel Reed runs out of the pocket.
running for his life.
0.3 seconds after the snap. They did not pick up the blitz, Noah. That was really the only two things that were stopped. Casey Concepcion was insane. Mario Craver was incredible. Texas A&M was great in throwing the jump ball throughout the game. Sedarian Price was arguably better than Jeremiah Love, but Jeremiah Love, I think, in the first half was really a huge engine for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
C.J. Carr made some big-time throws, and then there were just some big-time hesitations at times, which was kind of confusing.
Showed his
but
youth for sure.
he's a freshman. As you say there, I thought receivers were really good for Notre Dame as well, which was a great sight to see for a Notre Dame fan to be able to compete. It felt like almost at the same level as KC and Mario on the other side. But, man, what a game. Buckner, what the hell, man? Why are you dropping a snap? That is obviously one of the most clear Vegas calls I've ever seen. And then it pissed me off. I don't get mad at gambling. I'm not one of those people that gets mad when I lose a bet. It's disappointing is how I frame it. But I don't get mad. But I got pissed last night. I've really never felt that much anger over losing a bet because I took Notre Dame minus 6.5, and he muffs the extra point, and we're up 6. And then to have A&M return the kick all the way, and it gets called back for holding, I'm even angrier because I know that was our only chance to cover the spread.
Yeah.
what a call from Vegas. Like, and then I love. It's one of the great things about our sport being on television. It's just being able to just pan the camera to him immediately, cut the camera to him like between every single play, just to see the reaction. It really builds the story a ton. And for him to be smiling as much as he did, and I don't know why he puts on the neon penny. Like, I guess he's trying to.
He's probably calling. I imagine he's on the sidelines.
He doesn't even have a
plays.
headset calling plays or anything. There were other guys that were
just, like,
doing
draped
it
over his shoulder. Like,
I think he was trying to like look like us and just look cool wearing
Maybe. I
the
don't
neon
know.
penny, maybe. But that was a sight to see with Tyler Buckner.
They also the guy that got called for the holding on A&M also got showed a ton. They basically were just flipping sideline to
I was
sideline,
gonna say
showing
that was gonna be
Buckner
my
and Thor.
padlock stat was gonna be the placeholder for the kicks was shown 30 times in the final 5 minutes of the broadcast.
I like that one.
That is a padlock. If you are showing your placeholder that much, you know something got messed
Something went
up.
very
Yes,
wrong.
I
So that's the
absolutely love
padlock
that.
stack for the game.
But I want to give a ton of credit to Marcel Reed. That was extremely impressive.
Goes out with an injury at one point. Is that right?
He took a couple shots in the game, and one of them he left the game for I think just one play.
one play and returns back.
But he took a couple the one at the goal line especially, where he tries to sneak it in and he gets popped. That one, we just can't keep QBs healthy year in and year out, so I have a lot of PTSD. So that one was really scary. But I thought he had a good game.
I thought he was really good, and it doesn't show up on the stat sheet. He was 17 for 37.
Well, do you know what his ADOT was for the game?
No clue.
14.7 yards.
Jeez.
Like, that is one thing to look forward, potentially going forward. Colin Klein, it's like, could we get some easier completion for Marcel Reed? Because we also now have guys that can make people miss in space with Concepcion and Craver. Out of someone that took half the dropbacks for their team, he had the highest ADOT yesterday. That's 14.7 is not what you want.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We have a video. Jack watched this game at our tailgate. Do we want to? It's like 45 seconds, and it's the game-winning touchdown on 4th and 12. I'm gonna play it. I don't think we'll have audio, and I hope that the audio is not too loud for the people. Yeah, we got audio. I'm sorry, guys.
He got it. He caught it.
Bro did a lap.
Let's go. Gotta make the extra point. The freaking blocking tight end.
Astonishment that worked.
He sat back down and immediately goes, there's still 13
Got it.
seconds. Oh my gosh,
Oh.
there's still 13
That
seconds.
realization, we had to make the extra point. My legs were shaking.
He literally goes, he's like, and he's, yeah, I gotta sit down. I can't feel my legs.
Jack, how we feeling? I gotta sit down.
There's
My
a
legs
lot
are
of false
shaking.
sevens in this game. All
Randy,
of a sudden,
please.
we had
And then
a
also
control.
there's
It was
13 whole
close, but
seconds.
It reared its ugly head at the worst time again.
I hear the fat lady warming up.
A snap infraction, which you don't see very often,
Yep.
but it happened there. And so then all of a sudden we're in good shape, and then it's 4th and 12. And our blocking tight end, my boy Nate, probably has 2 catches on the season so far. Just gets put in a good matchup, 1v1.
Oh, yeah.
Such a size mismatch. And Marcel Reed, when he rolls and he pumps, at that point I was like, it's over, because I assumed when he pumped, he was like, he doesn't have anything he likes. But then he throws it, and he throws a very catchable ball, gives his guy a chance to go get it, and Nate does it. Man, just other thoughts on this game though. Marcel was great. The stats don't necessarily show it a ton. The pick wasn't great. He just kind of tried to test a guy that he probably shouldn't have, and he missed a couple throws, but just made plays when they had to be made. Gave receivers chances a ton. Missed a couple deep balls, but like you said, we have receivers that will make jump ball catches, and he gave them those chances. The Mario touchdown was just electric down the sideline. We needed it bad, and he goes makes a play. It's a terrible tackling attempt by the Notre Dame DB. Just no attempt to wrap up. Just kind of shies away and hits him, and he spins out of it, and he's gone. And Mario finished with over 200 yards on the game.
On just 7 catches.
On just 7 catches. I mean, you have an 86-yard touchdown. That really is going to help that number. I was impressed with what I saw from Notre Dame offensively. the run game and offensive line was looking very good. I think they knew they needed to establish that more.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to bring in Jeremiah Love, and then when A&M's tired and Jeremiah Love does need a break, and then you can just bring in Price, and it's like there's really not much of a drop-off at all. It's just terrifying.
Yep.
One of my big takeaways, you already mentioned it, but the Wildcat was just, I think they're just getting a little too cute there in a lot of ways. I even think on the 4th and 1 when they ran outside, it was like you ran outside, an outside run, to the side that you motioned Carr out to.
Yep.
And so he doesn't even try and block because he probably is told not to try and block. And so then you basically just have A&M defenders immediately into the backfield looking to make that tackle. That was the worst.
And
call
on
of the
that
game.
play, Jeremiah Love runs up, like he runs horizontal too.
Correct.
Essentially running into that corner that would be covering CJ Carr. I just thought they should have went to, like, should have just gone to like quarterback power because CJ Carr can run. He runs.
Yes.
And Notre Dame thinks of him as a better runner than Riley Leonard was last year. And that was a huge play for them. A ton last year was quarterback power with Riley Leonard. So it surprised me for them to not do that with CJ Carr. Maybe he's had fumble troubles during training camp doing those kinds of things, or they just didn't want to trust the freshman with the football as opposed to Jeremiah Love. But like that, I thought should have been a wrinkle
Sure.
at some point to run that kind of play.
I think we were right on in our prediction show.
Sure.
We talked about how this game could turn into a shootout. The score shows that, but also the stats. Last year, Notre Dame had 200 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns. A&M had 150. Notre Dame had 158 through the air. A&M had only 100. This year, I do think the roles were very reversed. I just had the stats pulled up. A&M passing 360 yards. Notre Dame 300 yards. On the ground, A&M only had 128. Notre Dame only 136. Those are not small numbers by any means, but compared to what we saw last year, which was very ground and pound, final score like 13-23, I think we were very right in that A&M's wide receiver play much improved from last year. The quarterback play, the development there, much improved. We saw, like, it wasn't lack of defense because I do think both those defenses could be good, but they both just ran into really talented offenses. So I think we were right on in our prediction there about high-powered offenses matching up.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Carr, we talked about the A&M passing cat. Carr, I thought, had a good game as a passer. Just found spots in our zones fairly
He had a better
consistently.
passer rating than Reed did.
Yeah, you don't really
When you
typically
have
get a bad
17 for
passer rating.
37, yeah, it's
gonna
hard to
hurt
have
the
a
passer
bad-
rating.
Yeah.
But he found spots. His pick wasn't great. He did, like you said, he had some freshman moments, but overall he was good. And I thought Notre Dame's wide receivers played fine. I did enjoy Jaden Greathouse, the guy that made the comment about the DBs being nothing he couldn't handle. Only had 2 catches.
Yep. Yeah, they did not throw the ball down the field as much as they hinted at
No,
they were doing.
It was a lot of intermediate stuff and whatnot.
It was, a lot of intermediate, and a lot of it was kind of CJ Carr escaping the pocket and finding someone. I thought defense still deserved credit because they made big plays that influenced the game.
Yeah.
Both of the picks were big. Notre Dame almost kind of got like, not that it was bad luck, it was just kind of poor execution because a lot of Marcel Reed's balls were like not quite on target, and there were chances for picks behind, chances for picks off deflections, and then like A&M forced 15 third downs against Notre Dame, and they just were able. Notre Dame was just able to execute on those third downs, and even on 4th down, Notre Dame was 2 for 4. So like those are just kind of moments where like, that's just where you kind of got unlucky because the offense gets 4 chances to go for it or to get 10 yards. Like that's going to be tough to do, especially with the way the offense were playing that night. So I don't think defense is not necessarily much of a question for either of these teams. I think they still got the kind of talent. I still love the DBs for Notre Dame, and I still love the front 7 for A&M.
Sure.
So I thought the A&M DBs, especially in the second half, were really, really good. Deez Ricks gets his name mentioned multiple times, which is a good thing to get your name mentioned. Most of the time it's because you deflected a pass.
Yeah.
And I thought he was good in man coverage.
He's good. Willie had a solid game. I want to give a shout out to Damian Sanford, who came in when Scooby Williams got hurt.
Yeah.
Do we know Scooby, was he carted off? Is that right?
No, he was fine. Also, yes, prayers out for Bryce Anderson. I think he's going to be
Absolutely.
fine, but that was really scary close to halftime.
Mm-hmm.
just a concussion.
He was
is kind
down.
of the
He was
report
down for
now.
like 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10
Yep.
minutes. It was a really bad scene. So prayers up for him. But Damian Sanford played well filling in for Scooby Williams. I think he's our most talented linebacker. He's just younger.
Yeah.
And he made big plays. The defense came up huge as a whole in key moments. I agree. It's like with both these teams, you want to see more defensive consistency as the season goes on. But the flashes showed that the talent and the ability is there to have really good defenses.
And that injury almost kind of helped A&M too, because Notre Dame kind of loses their momentum off a big play.
Yeah.
And then you have the C.J. Carr frustration clap.
That was one of my favorite things to ever
center
happen.
treats as a snap, and A&M honestly should have got points off of that, but they kind of poorly executed that. Both teams did too, I think, at the end of the half. Like Notre Dame, I think personally, should have got points with 13 seconds left. I know I would have. Like
I would have at
they
least
had
tried.
timeouts, but C.J. Carr holds on to the ball for too long and then throws it into quadruple coverage, so it just doesn't work out. And then I thought A&M kind of flustered the chance they had after the fumble off the poor snap.
The snap was, you just don't see that. Just the absolute frustration clap, the center snaps it. I thought we got a decent look, to be honest. Just the fact to be able to run a rushing play and he gets down, and you get a decent look at a field goal. You don't hit it, obviously. But also, I want to give a shout out to our left guard. Massive tackle on the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah.
That's
on
crazy.
the defensive lineman.
That's crazy.
Just great form to wrap up and bring him down.
Yeah.
So that was huge.
Put him on the D line. He could get in that backfield. I mean, wrapping up is an important part about tackling.
Correct.
We saw a lot of not wrapping up today in the NFL and then also yesterday in college football. So,
But what a cap to 3 incredible games.
All the best game of every time slot delivered in ways
Yeah.
you couldn't really ask more for. You had game-winning field goal. Yeah, Texas A&M 4 is still on the table for sure.
no, Mott's cracking me up because he said Notre Dame is barely top 25 after this loss. He has had them barely top 25 for 3 weeks.
So I guess they're still barely top 25.
Has he moved them yet?
I don't know.
I can't remember off the top of my head. I feel like they have
We'll
been.
see where he puts them here.
Yeah, I can't wait.
But yeah, we got a game-winning field goal on the fire drill in the first time slot, a missed game-winning field goal in the second time slot, and so we got an overtime game, and then a game-winning touchdown with 13 seconds left in the nightcap. And A&M
Did
gets
you
a-
address the fact that you got saved by the holding on the kickoff?
No, I will. Yeah, so the kickoff return that doesn't score, I would have taken obviously. But as we're running it, I'm like, low-key, I don't like it. This may be not what we need because
'Cause y'all
I didn't
couldn't
trust
stop
us to stop Notre Dame at that
That's,
point.
that's
in the
why I
game.
was angry as a Notre Dame
Yeah,
6.5
exactly.
point better, because it was like, well, then Notre Dame's going to go down there and score
Correct.
probably.
So
but
we,
you would still
they'd
only
have to go
it'd
for-
2. Yeah, okay.
They'd go for 2 to try to extend it to get to 7. So
yeah, because 6 is pointless.
at least get a chance at it. But
If
Yeah.
y'all don't, I think that if you don't have that holding get called back, Notre Dame goes and scores.
Yeah, I mean, never say never, but like I was fine with it getting called back personally, and
Yep.
it's just a huge win for the A&M program. Like I said, it's a win. We just don't win this game in previous iterations of this team and under previous coaches, and
huge win for you.
huge win for
was
me.
the only
it was
pick.
the only pick I won. I
That's
saved
correct.
it all up for this one.
Do we want to address the pick'em stats after?
Yeah, let's.
this
If
week?
you've got
yeah,
that.
this is where we've wrapped up
um,
this segment. So let's just roll into our pick'em scores, and
Yeah, I don't have a graphic for it.
you can read them off, JP.
Well, I'll-
But the story of the weekend, bad weekend for Jack and I, bad weekend for me in general. Best bets went 1 and 2 again. Again, like not here to talk about bad luck, but maybe there's some bad luck there. Thanks, Travis Kelce. Why didn't you catch a touchdown? And then again, I don't want to talk about what happened in New Orleans today. But now our updated against the spread records, which is through 3 weeks of college football, very, very, very early. We have a ton of time left to go, and there's only going to be more games to pick as we go forward. Jack sits at 6-11 after a 1-5 weekend,
Saved it all up for the game that mattered.
True.
but he gets the A&M pick correct. I am now 8-9. I was very, very good prior to this weekend. In fact, I was 7-4, but I go 1-5 as well, and now I'm 8-9. But I did hit my best bet for college football, so that's a good thing there. And then Sanders has a good weekend picking picking the 2 underdogs in the 2 early games with, or at least the 2 top games at the top of our list: Georgia Tech and South Carolina. He picks Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech and gets those done. So now Sanders is 11-6, which means law of averages says he's due for an 0-5 week next week to get
In
back
theory.
to 11-11.
In theory.
But he is now the current lead for spread pick'em right now.
Long way to go. I will.
Super long way to go.
Apologies
Jack's
to
due
my
for 5-0
fans.
next week.
Correct. Apologies to my fans for a bad performance. I know y'all expect more out of me. So I did get the A&M game right, but I will look to be better going forward because I don't like disappointing my fans like that.
I think if you could go 1-5 every week and A&M win, you would take that.
Yeah, but we're not going to pick the A&M game every week.
No, we won't.
So that really hurts. All right, let's get into the Technical Fowl Stock Market. Why don't we?
Yes.
Any other? I mean, we got the weekly recap segment. Are there any other quick takeaways, games? I think we hit on everything.
No, a couple of the ones I want to talk about are going to be brought up in the Technical Fowl Stock
we-
Market.
Cool.
So
Agreed.
I appreciate it, McBride. I love the faith. I need it.
Yeah,
I need some
McBride
confidence.
said he's gonna
a
tailor
pick-me-up
Jack
from
next
the
week.
fans.
All right, Technical Fowl Stock Market. It is. I would say this is now our favorite segment. Last week we said it's becoming one of our favorite segments. I'd say it's our favorite
It's
segment.
my favorite, but I also am the one that leads it, so
Yeah,
I get to
I
do what
enjoy it a
want.
lot. It's very fun. It's very goofy. It's one of the segments that like the viewers have participation in. Follow us on Twitter, TechFoulPod.
And you get to buy and sell in the chat as well.
Yeah, participate. You know, if you're buying or selling. But yeah, you take it away, Jack.
Bet. First one, South Carolina, buy or sell. South Carolina finishes above 500, so they reach 7 wins.
Oh my goodness. Well, let me look at South
Yeah,
Carolina's
let's pull up the
schedule.
South
at this
Carolina
point.
schedule. I already
They
heard
were
this
7.5, over under 7.5 going into the season, and now they lost a game that was probably one of their more winnable SEC games.
Absolutely.
The health of Lenore Sellers is in question, not a long-term issue, but just something to consider, and they've just not really looked great at all to start this season. Quick tangent, by the way, to y'all too. I don't know if you saw this. Joe Burrow is expected to miss about 3 months due to a bad turf toe injury.
3. I thought it was 3 weeks. I saw 3 weeks earlier today.
I saw
months.
3 months. So
Great.
he's going to miss a hot minute. And my boy Anson Hendrick just pulled off a trade for him this morning, so he's very frustrated.
Tough scene.
But yeah, does South Carolina hit the 7-win mark this season?
No way. This morning.
This morning the trade went through.
Oh wait, I did that this morning too, so I can't actually.
Yeah.
Me and Chromie pulled off a trade for him yesterday. So
Yeah.
screw me. We're in this together, Anson. I'm gonna go text him after this show.
Yeah, you're
gonna have to. Okay, buying, sell South Carolina to get to 7 wins. I'm gonna sell. They've got a tough schedule left ahead of them. If you look at their schedule, they go to Missouri, and then they got Kentucky at home. I think that's a win. They go to LSU, Oklahoma at home, Alabama at home. Go to Ole Miss. That's in November. JP, we talked about that earlier. Go to A&M.
Yeah.
Coastal at home. That's a win. Clemson at home. I'll give that to them. Clemson does not look great. That's 5 wins. Yeah.
Well, I'm just giving them Clemson's bold, but I
Okay.
get you're trying to
I
I'm
establish
just
a
trying.
case.
100%
Yeah, I'm
bold.
just. It is bold, but I'm just trying to like
You're trying to lay out a path. So I'll
lay
let
out
it
the path.
slide.
That's 5 wins, and then you've got to get 2 wins against every other opponent on their
One
schedule.
of your
is
4
ranked.
road games, you probably have to win one of them. You have 2 Cocktober games with Oklahoma and Alabama, so you'd hope you get those. But reality, you probably only get one of the Cocktober ones. So that means you need to beat. If you've already won the Palmetto Bowl against Clemson, you need to win at Missouri, at LSU, at Old Piss, or at A&M. I'm gonna say that I'm curious what the odds would be, because that kind of influences whether or not I'd buy or sell. But I'm gonna sell, and I'm selling because I want it to happen. I need Lenore's to continue to lose games and fall deeper down the
Yeah.
slope. Although it looks like the team that wears black and gold in the state of Louisiana may not win a single game this year. They did have now 2 straight games where they had the ball with a chance to either tie or take the lead. So I imagine they're going to win more games than the team that loses the most games this year.
I'm also gonna.
So I'm going to sell.
I'm also gonna sell. It's just hard to see 7 wins with the schedule and what the product they put on the field currently, or so up to date.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I don't know the status of Lenore Sellers currently. Missouri, at Missouri, 6:00 kickoff. If Sellers is a no-go or even like 90%, 80%, the way Missouri has looked with Bo Prabula, I think that's a loss. They have looked fantastic offensively.
Sure.
Bo Prabula has looked fantastic, so I'm also going to sell.
I'm going to say, though, I think we're in for, with what I've seen these 3 weeks, we're in for chaos
Sure.
in the SEC. And so I think anything is possible for literally any team outside of Kentucky.
Yeah. Well, you also, it's like the thing of, it's tough to sell on Lenore because I know he's had a slow start to the season, but you kind of feel like he's going to win them a game they really shouldn't win.
And they had a slow start to last season.
Correct.
In
That is
fact,
true. And
if
the
I'm
year
not
before that.
mistaken, they were 3-3, ended up winning their last 6 games. So
Yeah.
um,
Shane Beamer's turned it around before.
this is a team that could very easily do that, and they were a team that was started slow, 3-3, and were in conversation for being the last team in for the playoffs. So I think anything's possible, but I agree with all of y'all, and it seems like the chat right now, except for Mont.
Well, Mont's just saying that he beat me in college football Friday night, but we agreed that game was going to be annulled because I was not at 100% while we were playing. So
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Harris. It's tough. R.I.P. Zach Calzada. His starting campaign lasted
no,
2 weeks.
Harris is excited. Harris is very frustrated. Brief tangent. Harris is my brother, big Kentucky fan. Very frustrated with Kentucky's history of bringing in one-year Band-Aid quarterbacks. Will Levis, and then they got a guy from Penn State, was Will Levis from Penn State?
Devin Leary.
Devin
Will Levis was
Leary.
Penn State.
They brought in the Georgia guy, and then now they brought in this most recent guy. He's like, I just want to like, why are we not starting the redshirt freshman, redshirt sophomore? See what he has, give him a chance. They started him. I
They
think
could grab Nico.
yeah, I think that
Nico is probably looking to transfer at this point because
Honestly.
UCLA no longer has a head coach.
Yes.
we can buy and sell Nico entering the portal in a little bit, but
That's the buy button, by the way.
Anyway, so Harris is I think excited to see a not
Fair.
senior transfer who's going to be here
Sure.
for a year starting.
Maybe
so,
that'll happen.
We're gonna hop around on this list to our next one
Go ahead.
because the chat has kind of already spoiled it, and that's Shane Beamer will be the next head coach at Virginia Tech. Buy or sell. His dad was head coach there for like 30 years.
Yep.
Okay.
Very ingrained in the family. They fire their head coach today, or it's like I don't know if they've officially fired him, but like Pete Thamel and stuff are reporting that he's gonna get fired.
Mm-hmm.
He's out the door. They just got blown out by Old Dominion, and I think this is a big wake-up call for Virginia Tech and their boosters of being like, our football program has really fallen, and they're going to try and make a splash higher. Buy or sell this, guys?
I don't buy it, and therefore I will sell it. I think that Shane Beamer at South Carolina works. I think the culture there, the whole Beamer ball thing works. I don't think that they're ever going to be the top tier of the SEC, but I also don't know that he would ever be able to get Virginia Tech to the top tier of the ACC with the Clemsons, Miamis, Florida States up there.
Easier to do than to do it in the SEC.
That is true. Is that there is like it's probably closer and an easier bridge to gap. But I think the culture of I don't know Beamer ball, South Carolina, Cocktober, like it all just like clicks, and I think it makes too much sense. I would hate to see him leave. But my mom was beating Virginia Tech his job interview.
It might have been.
That's definitely a possibility. But I'm gonna sell because I just don't see him. I don't want to see him leave South Carolina. I love him there and I love the culture there, but I don't see him leaving.
Yeah. I also don't see him leaving. I mean, people are already releasing, coaching boards for him, and he's been on the list. And I'm sure they may make a call, and I think he will potentially be tempted to leave, but I think he likes South Carolina too much. They like him too much. Maybe if this season just ends up being a disaster, he jumps ship to Virginia Tech. But I don't know if I said Virginia Tech's gonna be serious about this coaching search and look to make a splash. I still don't think they can do enough to lure him away from South Carolina. So I'm gonna sell. As much as I do actually kind of want it to happen because I think it'd be a really cool storyline. Yeah. So I'm gonna sell.
I'm buying the crap out of it.
Okay.
I would buy a ton of it. The biggest problems right now with Brent Pry and Virginia Tech is that they don't recruit well in their state, and their state has good talent. Virginia Tech, out of just this class, only secured 2 of the top 15 recruits in their own state. And I think Beamer would recruit well at Virginia Tech, and there's enough talent in that area that they would be able to be competitive in the ACC. They have one of the best environments in college football, and it's a damn shame that they haven't had a good program in a while, especially since Frank Beamer retired. So I completely buy it. With his interaction he had with his father after beating Virginia Tech, you could tell, like, it was basically what he said was like that it looked like it was like a man that kind of sucked beating the team that your dad coached for so long.
Well, because
so
you know Shane Beamer's a huge fan of that team because his dad was there for so long. Like, he grew up.
Absolutely.
I
around
also
that team.
didn't realize, Tucker, that Beamer Ball started at Virginia Tech.
Yes, Frank Beamer is one of the winningest coaches in college football history. He did coach for a ton of years, so that helps. He's also the winningest coach at Virginia Tech. It's a program that's had, good success, and they deserve to have good success. They have the makeup. They have the investment to make that possible. There was a ton of hype in this team a year ago, and you lose kind of an inexplicable game to Vanderbilt, and then whatever the hell happened this year, going 0-3 to start the year, losing to South Carolina. Vandy kind of made sense maybe
I think
a little
players
bit.
quit after week 1.
But to lose to Old Dominion was kind of, that's inexplicable. That
Yeah.
deserves to get you fired almost
Didn't they get
immediately.
blown out by
It
Old
was not
Dominion?
close.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's what I thought.
they were down 28-0 at one point, and I'm sure it got worse. But I'm buying.
Sure.
I think Shane has had his struggles at South Carolina, and to have the success that he's had has actually kind of been, I think, a credit to him. But nothing is guaranteed in that conference, and I think that is being kind of seen.
Sure.
You think of Mark Stoops with Kentucky, that has always kind of felt like it's been a consistent program, and then the state of that team right now. And that could very easily happen with South Carolina. Like, Lenore Sellers is leaving after this year.
Who knows who's next?
Who knows who the quarterback is going to be next? Like, the quarterbacks, like last year, Robbie Ashford was their big transfer in quarterback, and thankfully Lenore is able to pop as a redshirt freshman. But Robbie Ashford is your starting quarterback. When the games that occurred was not very successful. So nothing is guaranteed where he is. This is your one opportunity. This is realistically your one opportunity. You'd hope, or at least for Virginia Tech fans, they would hope for 5 to 10 years they don't have to fill this job again. So this feels like the perfect opportunity to go ahead and take that chance. And with the way that college football is right now, I think it's a perfect chance to go there and still be able to find success early, because it's different to like Bill Belichick. It's not a new environment for him. It's an environment he grew up in. It's an environment his dad coached at. And so he should be able to find success early on.
Sure.
And he should, with his pedigree that he's built at South Carolina, he, I think, would find success early on. So I'm buying. I think it makes a ton of sense for Virginia Tech. I think it makes a ton of sense for Shane. And I just feel like nothing is guaranteed at South Carolina.
Yeah.
Going forward.
Real quick before we move on, Bob Chesney, JMU's head coach, just got mentioned in the chat by Tucker. I also think that'd be a great hire. And then if I was Shane Beamer, I would take this job. I just don't know, because I think it's a smart move.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like he needs to get out while he can at South Carolina.
Message Board Genius, which one of my favorite Twitter accounts, has Urban Meyer. This is the big board, or the hot board, whatever you're going to call it. The coach hot board. Urban Meyer, Jimbo Fisher, Ed Orgeron, Hugh Freeze, Eli Drinkowitz, and Lincoln Riley. So that's according to Message Board Geniuses.
Crazy.
These
What
are
a list.
These are
That
insiders.
sounds like
These are insiders
the
that we're
list
talking to.
that Florida had after losing to South Florida that got released by Message Board
Yeah.
as well. But yeah, I agree, Jack. I would take that job too if I'm Shane Beamer. Also, Central Michigan's about to win the MAC for the next 2 years, and I will be coming to South Carolina in 2 years, so he's going to be kicked out pretty soon anyway.
Sure.
I am the
Gotta
head,
get out
head
while you
coach
can.
at South Carolina right now
Got to get out while you can.
in the 2028 season. So
Cool.
So the Falcons just kicked their third red zone field goal.
They can't finish drives. They're
They
letting
are
J.J.
cooking.
McCarthy hang around. We're about to get a repeat of week 1.
Yep. Continue.
This is my next question. I don't love the question, but I want to just be able to bring up this topic to discuss. 2026 QB draft class will produce 3 that just seems so high, but 3 or more long-term NFL starters. And I really bring this up because we've seen Cade struggles and Garrett Nussmeier have some struggles, and Drew Aller still have some of his inconsistencies pop up, and Lenore Sellers had a slow start to the season. And so I just kind of want to be able to discuss all these guys as a group and just kind of evaluate them and what we see for them as kind of this class that we thought was going to be a really deep draft class, and it's kind of sputtered out of the gate.
Let's say long-term starters, they get to a second contract with their team.
I said they get to their second contract with their team
As
and
a
like
starter.
still have a chance at least to start. Maybe you don't have to be like the locked-in starter, but like if you, because it'd be a long-term start in the league. If you're at your second contract and you're like guaranteed bench guy,
I think
that's you're not a
really
starter.
rare to see that. I think.
What do you mean?
To get your second contract with the team that drafted you, and you're still not the starter.
No, you don't have to get to this. So you're sorry. You said team. You get to the second contract with the team you got drafted
With
for.
the team you got drafted.
I
by.
missed the draft
Okay.
part. I thought you said just get a second contract.
Yeah,
in the
second
league.
contract,
That's my
yeah, that
apologies.
happens a ton.
Apologies. So yes, get to the second contract with the team you got drafted by. I like that clarification because we were gonna have to make a set on it. I'm gonna sell. I think 3 is high because 3 is really high for any draft class, to be honest. Even though there are a lot of theoretically talented guys here.
Yeah, I would not buy. I'd sell as well. I think there's a ton of like high ceiling guys.
Yeah.
It's a good mix. It's a good high floor guys and high ceiling guys. But I just think a quarterback is just such a position that gets turned around a ton. And even with like in recent memory right now, if you think high ceiling guys that got drafted, Anthony Richardson, high ceiling. Of course, that was miserable.
Yeah.
Will Levis, I think, for me, it felt like he was a high ceiling guy with how strong he was and his processing. Like it never felt like he was a floor guy. That obviously had no success. So I think, and we are, at least it seems like recent memory, number 1 overall picks aren't doing well either.
Yeah.
With Bryce Young and Caleb Williams. So even like the best guy in the class, if it's Lenore Sellers, is not guaranteed whatsoever. Like I don't think Bryce Young's going to get a second contract with the way he's playing right now, especially. So I'm going to sell. I think 1 or 2 could do it, and I think 1 or 2 will do it. But
Sure.
if
Someone has to hit from this class, even though
Absolutely.
they've all kind of gotten off to a slow start, or at least the top guys have. Fernando Mendoza, statistically has been great at Indiana so far. Carson Beck has
I
looked
still
like
don't get
he's
that hype.
resurgent. That's why I said statistically.
Mendoza is the 23rd rated prospect on PFF right now.
Carson Beck, is
Too
look
high
good.
for you?
Mateer's off to a hot start. I don't really include
And
Arch in this
right
Sam
now-
discussion.
Levitt is looking a little Mahomey.
Look, he plays
What
Frogger on the
th-
field.
Fernando Mendoza is 23rd, and Taylon Green is 180 right now. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
I think my biggest this is such a tangent. My biggest beef with PFF's big board is I don't feel like because I get it's a big board and not a mock, but like they don't look at it in the same lens that NFL scouts look at it all the time, if that makes sense. Example, like NFL scouts and like front officers are gonna love the toolsiness of Taylon Green that Mendoza doesn't necessarily have. Similar, they love Torrey New York and A&M linebacker, who is just so physically handicapped that like they have him. Some people have him. PFF guys have him as like their second best linebacker or third best linebacker in the class. He just isn't going to go that high because he doesn't have the tools. So I think that's kind of where it comes from, in my opinion.
Andrew, I completely forgot about your challenge to use the phrase "little Mahomey." I've just been using it a lot recently because we've seen a lot of guys making Mahomey plays. But yeah, so I accidentally completed that challenge.
Congrats.
Yeah, I'm also gonna sell.
It makes no sense to buy this. I just wanted to like
No,
bring
I agree.
the discussion.
I
up.
don't even. So I feel like a big indicator is right now. I feel like there's only one guy who's like really trending up, and that's John Mateer. I feel like everyone else is either holding ground or even trending down. Arch Manning, trending down. We've seen some poor performance from him to start.
I don't even include him in this class at this point.
I agree. I
So-
agree. And I think you could say the same for Sam Levitt. I really think that he's going to end up staying another year unless he decides that losing his number one wide receiver means that he's going to either. I could see him transferring to somewhere else if
Yeah.
he doesn't like the weapons he
Yeah.
has at Arizona State next year. But I could see him staying. Nico Imaliava has not been playing well. Carson Beck, I would say, is trending up. But like the big riser is John Mateer. So I
Big
think
riser, yeah.
he's kind of like the only guy who's like really
Sure.
I think
surprisingly
Nuss
popped.
is not surprisingly popped, but I think his pick against Florida was terrible. I almost said the F word. That's how bad it was. But I thought with the way he played in the Clemson game that he has raised his stock. He has raised his stock from a PFF perspective.
He made it quite the impression with that Clemson game.
Absolutely, but just with the way he managed that game as a quarterback. But yeah, John Mateer is really the only one that's trending up, and we haven't even gotten to conference play, which is actually pretty concerning for the class that we were kind of being promised. It makes me happy as a fan of that team right there, because now it kind of makes me feel like we could get really anybody, and we just kind of have to hit on someone.
Don't mess it up.
But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I agree, Jack. No reason to buy unless you just get really good value on
If it were 2, would you buy?
Yes.
That's we were between making it 2 and making it 3, and it kind of just felt like either one you made it.
If it were
was-
2, I'd buy because I think Lenora Sellers and Drew Aller are
Sure.
going to get to their second contract. I think that for me feels almost guaranteed, and then I just have to need one more guy.
You would need for 2.
I
you
wouldn't even
wouldn't
need one more guy.
Yeah,
so
correct.
yeah.
So for
I
3, you would only need one
only
more
need
guy.
one more guy, and I just don't trust that with the way the quarterback
'Cause
position
also
kind of revolves.
As no matter how confident you are about those 2 guys, like it's just never a sure thing about NFL.
and they're not
so-
guaranteed. Yes,
Correct. Exactly.
With the way Caleb and Bryce Young are playing, like I said earlier.
All right, we got a couple fan ones here that I've included just to give the fans some love. I'm not. These aren't the most insane buy or sells. Chromie has requested another Houston one, so Houston will win 8 games, buy or sell. They're at 3-0. They have some winnable games still left on their schedule.
I gotta
They've
pull up
looked
their
solid, I guess. Nothing crazy impressive, but they are 3-0.
I'll say 3-0 with, I would say, not one of the most impressive resumes.
No.
Beating
No.
Stephen
SF
F.
Austin, beating Food, and then
Hey, it was a road game, and they beat them by a lot. So
beating Colorado with MLK Stubb starting at quarterback. 8 games is what would he have to
They
buy?
need
And
5
Yes.
more.
So you still have to play Baylor. You still have to play TCU. You still have to play Texas Tech. You get to play Oklahoma State.
You get to play Oregon State as well,
and UCF.
and UCF.
I'm gonna buy. I think they could get to 8 wins.
I'm also gonna buy. 'cause
unironically.
They got some. They've played some easy games already, and they got a lot more left. So I'm gonna buy.
Do
here.
they have a lot? I feel like they only have 2 more.
They got
3.
3.
3
They got
easy ones
3,
left.
and then you just need 2. It's the Big 12. Anything can happen.
True.
And I think they would. I think they could pull off two more upsets.
and they are like. I know their resume is not impressive yet, but they definitely are improved from last year, in my opinion. Like
For
they
sure.
are a better team.
For
But
sure.
I'll buy.
I will also buy. This I guess this is a shout out to Chrome. Do you think if we buy, we can stop doing Houston buys and sells on the weekly?
I doubt it.
No.
We'll be back next week.
Yeah, but Houston to win the Big 12. Houston, yeah.
This
it's-
may just become a weekly one, honestly, where we just.
well, the fans, I mean, they're buying.
Facts.
Andrew McBride, buy. Montgomery, go Cougars, buy. So apparently, we're a Houston podcast now.
Yeah.
So,
I may just leave this one in the notes app as we just revisit
and
Houston.
just
8
move the win
wins.
total up.
We'll probably we'll revisit 8 wins at least for the next couple weeks. Eventually, it'll become implausible, but we're all buying that one. This one is courtesy of my brother-in-law Ryan Steele. This probably the easiest sell we ever have on the
Correct.
history of this segment. But
I went so far as to find data to back up my sell. So
that's crazy because it's just not necessary. Mario Craver to win the Heisman. Had a big game against Notre Dame. Currently leads wide receivers in receiving yards. I'm going to sell because there's just no shot, really. But
That's
he is a
good-
fantastic player.
good
Let me
data.
see if I can find the odds on that real quick.
My research is last time we had back-to-back non-quarterback Heisman winners was 1998 to 1999.
It's not too terribly long ago. Mario Craver was almost born
25 years, yeah, almost born. 25 years ago. No, we're gonna. A quarterback's gonna win it. I mean, if 10 years of the Chiefs winning the AFC West is enough data to pick the Chiefs, then
Sure.
25 years of not back-to-back quarterbacks should be enough data to pick a quarterback to win this
So-
year.
Casey Concepcion has better odds than him, as Mario Craver does not have any odds
Wow.
on FanDuel. Casey has the better odds.
Marcel Reed Slam
The
in the
highest-
chat is crazy.
wide receiver is, of course, Jeremiah Smith.
Second is Ryan Williams.
No, second is Jordan Tyson.
Oh,
Yeah, makes sense.
I don't, unless I missed him. Ahmad Hardy and Jeremiah Love. You got a few running backs that are in that kind of conversation. But no, Ryan Williams is not on here
Valid.
at all. In
Really?
fact, Mark Gronowski has better odds than Ryan Williams to win the Heisman, which
that's great.
that is what is being
Oh,
offered.
That's great Mark Gronowski value right there.
That
Mark
is pretty
Gronowski, who
good
still
Mark
hasn't
Gronowski's
thrown
schedule.
for 100 yards passing.
I was gonna say, what did he do this weekend?
Was it a bye?
I'm not
Oh,
sure. that
47-7 against UMass.
How many,
That's a big
please?
win.
Did he get like 3-4 passing touchdowns?
2 TDs from Gronowski. I don't know if they were passing or not.
179 yards, both passing.
All right,
Both
there
So
we
he
go.
cooked. That's
There's
why
a
his
big
odds
two.
are that
Yeah.
high.
So he's up to 4 on the season. Still got 9 games to go. Is that 4? Right, 2 in the first 2 weeks, and then 2 this week.
Yeah, I got 9.
Yeah.
All right, 4 down, 6 to go over the next 9 weeks.
3 down, 9 to go.
He had 1.
Oh, he had 1.
2 touchdowns
Okay.
on
Oh,
passing
touchdowns.
through 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
Yeah. No, it's just passing.
It's
passing.
just passing. So
Yeah.
he's at 3 passing
at 3.
touchdowns through 3 weeks. That's a good pace.
He's
That's,
hitting 10 easily.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm feeling confident in that one. Okay, next buy or sell, courtesy of JP. He just texted Alabama, so I didn't exactly know what he wanted it to be. But we're just revisiting one from a couple weeks ago, which was Alabama to make college football playoffs. I bought at the time. There's nothing that has happened since to make me change my mind, so I'm just going to buy again.
You might have got them at really good value after that Florida State loss. I think that I think I'm going to have to sell here. I think that that's going to be better value than buying because after 2 big wins against Yale Monroe and Wisconsin, I feel like I'm going to get better value selling than I will buying.
Buying now, or is the odds are only going to get worse?
Right, but I'm still nervous about their schedule
Yeah. I know.
against the dual threat quarterbacks. Because as much as they looked fantastic against Louisiana Monroe and Wisconsin,
Louisiana Monroe QB, he runs a 4.1 40. Don't look it up.
don't trust
Don't
sources.
fact check
Trust
me
me,
on
bro.
that one. Yeah,
Trust me, bro.
sources.
Per source.
No, I'm just nervous about what it's going to look like when they play an actual football team. That's not this Wisconsin Big Ten team is probably equivalent to some of the SEC teams we have in our conference, but Vanderbilt still on the schedule, South Carolina still on the schedule, I believe Missouri still on the schedule.
Yep.
There are some doozies on the Oklahoma still on the schedule. I'm gonna have to sell.
Sure.
I'm not buying either. I'm selling. And I disagree with Andrew because they were 9-3 last year and didn't make the playoff. There was an argument there, but it wasn't good enough. And I don't think a 9-3 is going to have a good enough argument with what they have left, because that would require 2 more losses, and that would mean you either lose to 2 teams that are probably in the playoff, like LSU, Oklahoma, Georgia, or you've lost like 2 kind of inexplicable, like you lose to Vandy at home, or losing the Iron Bowl, or losing Cocktober against South Carolina. So I think the 9-3 at this point, with how they looked in the Florida State game, is not going to be good enough. I think they got to get to 10-2 potentially.
Fair.
But with the chaos that could happen in the SEC, maybe 9-3 is enough. I'm selling though. I just don't think that they'll get that done. They're going to have to be just too consistent, even with 2 losses maybe potentially available. And yeah, it was Louisiana Monroe and Wisconsin at home. Both of them games at home, so those were expected to be good performances. The litmus test is in 2 weeks against Georgia, and I have Georgia as the number 1 team in the nation, so I just don't think they're going to play well in that game
We'll
either.
probably revisit this stock post
After
that
the Georgia game.
If I had
What
to
week
guess.
is that? Is that
It's in 2 weeks, so
2
it's
weeks.
week 5.
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, a couple.
So that's who it'll be undefeated Mississippi State and Tennessee competing for college game day against
With
them.
Penn State and Oregon as well that weekend.
That's gonna be
we're
tough.
We're not doing it.
All right, we got SEC Nation though.
Tennessee would have had to have won, and maybe
Yeah.
we get SEC Nation, but
LSU Ole Miss, I believe, is also that weekend.
yeah, that weekend is
It's
pretty
chalked.
pretty stacked. Our best chance was last week. That
Texas A&M
weekend,
Auburn's that weekend.
Ohio State plays at Washington.
Wow.
LSU school up north. You have USC Illinois, which will be a ranked matchup. Auburn goes to College Station, as you said.
Well, maybe we could get the Fall Don't Lie tour down here.
Maybe.
Y'all are gonna get, like-
I doubt that too. He's going to Penn State, Oregon.
He will.
Uncle Rick's crawfish like caboose is gonna
And
make its
then
way to town or
if-
something like
if
that.
USC
That's the best y'all gonna get that
Yeah,
week.
if USC Illinois gets the big noon kickoff too, he probably goes to USC Illinois.
Maybe we could convince
and
like
then goes to.
we could do like a technical foul sideline show.
I was gonna say the technical foul will be making its way to
I mean, if
town.
you can arrange that, I would love to do the simulcast like Pat McAfee does. Just
I
technical
was
foul.
thinking more like a like a little pregame thing, and then like we'll
Oh,
just be
that'd
on
be
the
cool, too.
sidelines, have our credentials.
Cool.
Is that no? That will not be happening. LSU to make the playoff, Mont. Do we buy sell that real quick? Buy.
It's not on the list, so we're skipping it. Sorry,
Oh,
Mont.
okay.
Yeah, no.
You should have
We
responded.
do have
earlier.
we do have an
Earlier.
LSU one, correct? Yeah, be check your phone earlier, Mont. We do have an LSU themed one though. Buy or sell? Brian Kelly is the angriest coach in the country. I'm gonna buy because this Brody just consistently gets pressed over almost nothing in the press conferences.
Yeah, he's got some great clips.
They do
since
make great
LSU.
clips, but he just is an angry man. Like
This is the
talking-
same thing that keeps happening every year.
water bottle pop.
Yeah.
Getting mad last night. If Buddy the Elf was in that room, he would say he's a very angry elf. So I'm
See,
gonna buy.
I just can't take him seriously as an angry coach because of his cringe moments as well.
Sure.
And so it's like hard to like take that seriously. I feel like he's just like he's like swings way too back and forth. I feel like to find like the angriest coach, you got to find someone who just like stays angry. You know?
Maybe. I almost think the swings make it a little more like pronounced.
That's fair. Andrew asked active. I would say
yes,
active head
yes,
coach.
active
Active head coach. DJ Durkin.
The both coaches have killed someone under their watch. I mean, due to like dereliction of duty type stuff.
Yes.
Not like they've actively stabbed somebody. When DJ Durkin was at Maryland, I believe, when
Yeah.
his happened, and then we ended up bringing him to be A&M's DC.
Yes.
That was all she wrote.
I would buy. I thought the reaction post that game was insanely bad, which is that was a bad sentence. That was an insanely bad sentence. Saying insanely bad. That's
Yeah.
not two words that go well together. But it was just poor. I don't understand the reaction. I thought
Very
the
legitimate question from the reporter.
is completely in the right. It's a very legitimate question. It's a very fine question. To have 5 interceptions, you score a pick 6 off one of them, but you score 13 points off the other 4 picks, and that doesn't even include like scripted drives, stuff like that. The offense has to be under some kind of question with how they've looked through 3 weeks. I thought last week was just a letdown spot after the big win against Clemson.
Sure.
And maybe you could make the argument that he's played 2 elite defenses, but for him to say that they played well offensively, I think it's just wrong.
He's lying.
And then to bring up like, oh, we're 17-1 in night games here at LSU since I've been here, like, yeah, but you also haven't necessarily played excellent competition. And when you've played the biggest one against Alabama last year, you got embarrassed on national television. A murder was committed on national television. So I don't think that's even enough backup. But it's a completely legitimate question, and it's another infamous clip for Brian Kelly.
That one we remembered for sure. Did you ever
100%.
officially buy or sell, Sanders?
Yeah, I think I said I was gonna sell
Okay.
just because I feel like he also gets caught being too goofy. I feel like he's just bad at getting caught for clips. So I don't know, like the one where he like does his like dance like with the camera spinning around.
That's one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Grinding on a player at a visit is just kind of crazy work.
Wow.
All right.
Wild spin move.
2
by,
more.
Bijan.
DJ Lagway, because we wanted DJ Lagway one, but DJ Lagway will be drafted above CJ Bailey. CJ Bailey being NC State's quarterback, who has really impressed scouts and me as well. in the first couple weeks.
What year is Bailey? Sophomore?
He's a redshirt. Or he's a sophomore. Sorry, he's a sophomore. So there's no guarantee to even go in the same class. So like it doesn't have to be the same class, but just like even say Bailey goes a year later if he gets drafted higher. Lagway goes
Are
a
you
year later.
saying by pick or by like if Bailey is the
By pick,
first,
by pick
second
number,
quarterback?
by
okay,
pick number.
by pick number, not just like order of quarterbacks.
Scuffed question. I just wanted to be able to talk about this.
No,
really.
you good. I haven't watched any. I don't think I've seen a single second of NC State football, so I cannot answer.
You're missing great football, by the way. Him and Hollywood Smothers are a fantastic duo.
Wait, did I watch? I do
yeah.
remember. I definitely watched them because I remember
we
talking
were
about Hollywood
watching them
Smothers.
the other night. Were we not?
Was that a Friday? Did they play Friday night? Thursday night? They played Thursday night against Wake Forest.
Correct.
Yes.
So I did watch some of them. Never mind.
But you weren't impressed, clearly.
Yeah,
'cause you
no,
don't remember him.
I was clearly not impressed because I don't remember him. I would still. I'm just gonna talk after having said that I didn't watch any. CJ
You gotta
Bailey
buy
film.
or sell. We're not letting you out of
I'm
this one.
buying DJ Lagway just because I feel like the 5-star talent and the hype can carry a lot of weight. And I haven't seen enough. I haven't seen any of CJ Bailey, and therefore cannot speak to that. And so I'm gonna pick DJ Lagway. I'm gonna buy DJ Lagway, or buy him going ahead of CJ Bailey.
I'm buying as well. As I said in my preview for Florida, Lagway is going to be a star eventually because he throws well from any base. He's accurate, beautiful spiral, catchable ball, pocket awareness, arm strength, touch. He's a excellent, talented quarterback. And I think the biggest indictment on Florida this year has been lack of innovative play calling.
It's been terrible, as McBride is saying in the
Yep.
chat.
And not that it helps with the picks he threw on Saturday, but it's also like for it to all happen in one game, maybe it potentially gets chalked up to just that game. And it's also, if you ever, not that, again, I keep bringing video games in the conversation, but it's applicable to me. Sometimes you just get in games, you just keep throwing picks. It just happens. You just keep making mistakes. I think Lagway's got a ton of time to develop, and his talent is too high to not be drafted higher than CJ Bailey
Sure.
right now.
I love CJ Bailey, but I'm also going to buy because I think Lagway's going to be drafted very high. I think we're going to see CJ Bailey to continue to rise, and he will also get drafted high, but just maybe not enough to get in over DJ Lagway. I think Florida is just kind of criminally mishandling his development and his situation.
Which I hate to see because it was really fun watching him last year. So he kind of like stormed onto the scene
Sure.
as a freshman. And
DJ, you could be at A&M right now beating Notre Dame. That is a possibility for you, but I guess we'll just have to settle with our Heisman, Marcel Reed, according to the one of the Herb Street sons. I'm blanking on his first name, but
Zach.
Zach Herb Street had
he's
him
got Marcel Reed winning the Heisman.
apparently, according to the graphic.
Wow. All right.
All right, last one.
Completely possible.
Notre Dame will make the playoffs, buy or sell. They basically have to win out.
Yep.
Yeah. I would say they have to win out.
Yes. They have a couple tough games left on their schedule, looking at Arkansas, looking at USC, but nothing too much of a gauntlet. But even if it's not a gauntlet, like I said, they have to win out. So basically,
They have to be
they can win
impressive,
out.
too.
Yes. They
Yeah,
could get
because
left out at 10-2.
We saw a 10-2 team get left out last year in Miami. Were they the only ones? I said them like that. There was a list.
Yeah.
I can't remember. They were the only
Off
ones.
the top of my head, yes.
Okay. And I don't think in Miami. Did Miami have a good resume win?
No, they played basically no one, and then just had bad losses to Georgia Tech and Syracuse.
Yeah. So I could see the thing that Notre Dame has to their advantage right now is their 2 losses are against teams who look better than Syracuse and Georgia Tech. I mean, Georgia Tech ended up looking good down the stretch last
They were
season.
7-5,
Right.
so I don't even know if that's
They
necessarily
looked.
the
Sorry,
case.
they looked
But
good.
they did.
They were a
I mean,
fan
they went
favorite,
toe-to-toe with Georgia.
Yeah.
They had good games.
Yeah.
Miami and A&M are both ranked in the top 10 right now, which helps out Notre Dame's case. If they do end up going 10-2, they would not be in quite the same shoes as Miami was last year. And they do have USC left on the schedule. They're ranked right now. That could be a good win. But I think I'm going to sell. I think that even
Sure.
at 10-2, you could see a 9-3 SEC team potentially get in with 1 or 2 top 25 wins. So I'm going to sell on that.
I'm selling too. I don't think they have the wins that can get them there. And they would have to be, I think, insanely impressive and dominate a ton, which I think they have the profile of player to do it. But I just don't think it's going to happen. And I do think that a 9-3 SEC easily a 9-3 SEC or Big Ten team is going to have a better resume than this.
Yeah.
With your best win being at Arkansas or hosting USC
Sure.
right now. You're just going to have better wins.
And USC
One of those
could
SEC
still end up being 6-6. You never know.
Yeah, one of those SEC teams is going to have beaten LSU or Georgia
Or A&M's
Texas
9-3
or
and they
A&M.
beat you.
And yes, A&M beat you. Miami, if they were to lose the ACC championship, well, they've beaten you. That's the argument there. So neither of those losses help them. I'm selling.
Y'all make very valid points. I do believe in something, however, of the luck of the Irish. They kind of seem to find ways to sneak in, get the job done. I even think of the year when A&M finished 5th in 2020, and they snuck in at 4th. So I'm gonna buy because I think there's some good value here, and I could really see it happening. But I do acknowledge it's a bold buy for me. But I'm gonna wrap it up with a bold buy, and that's the end of the show. That's all we have. Anything else before we get out of here? We gotta figure out. 2:45 is crazy from us.
Yeah, the stock market was, I think, 30, 45
I
minutes.
gotta bring a couple less questions a week.
No,
That's
you
on
good.
me.
You good.
There's
We
two-
also had an extra game this week.
that is true.
We will have one less game going forward.
Yeah, right now I think looking ahead we have hold on, that's
We'll
week
have
5.
less boots on the ground activity in the future.
That'll be key.
We will not have 2 games of boots on the ground action with Georgia Tech, Clemson, and the Mississippi State game.
Next week I can tell you right now we will be talking about Texas Tech at Utah,
Yep.
Auburn at Oklahoma, the state game obviously, and then the last game is completely up in the air, but I think Illinois Indiana has a chance to be talked about.
Yeah.
But that very well could be our game of the week. That pretty much is it. I think there's plenty of contenders for game of the week to be talked about, but
That'll be up to
that's
y'all.
like 3 to 4 games. If y'all have early leaders, go ahead and throw them in the chat right now how you're feeling, and then help us out later in the week and throw that up on Twitter or text it to us whenever we ask. But yeah, that kind of does it for this week's college football show. It took almost the entirety of Sunday Night Football.
We've not missed much. It's been
Atlanta
yeah.
should be winning this game 28-6,
Well, 5 field goals would suggest
35-6.
to 14 at worst.
They're also trying to get my boy Penix hurt.
We are throwing around the idea of tomorrow night is the biggest NFL game of the
Correct.
show. North Alabama, man, Tucker is just pushing for the small
We're gonna have to
schools.
make a Tucker ban when it comes to voting for these things.
Last week he wanted not Alcorn State, Delta State versus
Somebody. Doesn't matter.
I believe Louisiana, Southeast Louisiana.
Yes, that's correct.
He's just pushing for the FCS schools, and I respect it. We are throwing around the idea of like a watch along for the Raiders versus Charger game tomorrow. We have a big bet on the line for that game that includes we've had a lot of Justin Herbert versus Geno Smith discourse on this show. I'm a Chargers fan. JP is a Geno's fan. So we are discussing doing a watch along for that. That will be TBD. We'll post that tomorrow when we decide if we do it. If we don't post anything, then we're not doing it.
Correct.
But yeah, that's kind of it. If that doesn't happen, we will see you Tuesday for our NFL review show and our NFL bets review show.
Tough.
That's currently 1-0 on the week. I guess that's really 1-0. And then
We're all about to miss this one, unfortunately.
we are all about to miss this one.
There's still time, team.
There's
Belief. I wish I could have changed my pick because there's a lot of not great injury stuff around the Vikings, but it's all good. Thanks for tuning in if y'all did. We will see y'all hopefully Tuesday. To talk about the NFL. Thank y'all. Peace.
See ya.